Western, Boone, and Eastbrook playing at Lucas Oil Stadium again. Hello, everybody, and welcome to downtown Indianapolis, where the Stars and the Panthers are preparing to do battle in the ultimate game of the season once more. I'm Nathaniel Finch, joined by Coach Smith here for what should be a good one in a matchup between these two teams, one from Marion, Indiana, the other one from Thorntown, Indiana, near Dover. And these two teams, they've done this before. Eastbrook, they've been in the state game here quite often the last 4 years, of course. They've been here 3 of those 4 years, and the Stars trying to go back-to-back after winning it all last year.
Yes, like I said, it's a good rematch of the last year's state championship. You do not get that too often, when especially in the smaller schools where you might have a good class of seniors come through and they graduate. But for both of these teams to sustain their talent level and to get back to the state finals is a positive thing for both coaches and communities that they were able to make it back here to Lucas Oil.
Yeah, Eastbrook, they were in the state championship game of 2A in 2004, where they lost to Tri-West 62-21. And Rob Bragg won the Mental Attitude Award there, also related to Dylan Bragg, the quarterback this year of Eastbrook. Now, also in 2016 that is, Eastbrook was ranked second, and they lost to Cardinal Ritter at the 2A state championship game, 28-6. 2017, they were first ranked, went all the way to semi-state and lost by 1 to Woodland, who then lost by 1 in the state championship game. Last year, of course, they were ranked number 3, and they lost 34-20 to the Stars, and now they're trying to do this one again after being unsuccessful. And Eastbrook, as a school, has yet to win a state championship despite all their opportunities in the sport of football.
Yes, and the score last year, 34-20, isn't really indicative of how close the game was. There was a key play in the game. Eastbrook fans, I'm sure, will remember. That was a pass that was very questionable, whether it was a backwards pass / fumble or incomplete. And, if things had gone the way they needed to there, they would have had the ball down 1 score. Instead, I think Western Boone ended up scoring on that possession and made it a two touchdown final score. But the entire game was very close throughout, and I fully expect the same thing to happen again today.
Yeah, well, you said it was a close game, Coach, and, Eastbrook had the lead going into the locker room, and that just shows the coaching of Coach Pelly for the Stars to come back after being down, 14-7, and come back and end up winning the game after a few touchdown passes to Logan Benson. Coach Pelly here, now his 7th year, the very end of it, and he's won 66 games for this program. He's only lost 20, 10-3 average each year of the season, and his coaching staff is really what he credits to be the reason that they've been so successful lately. And right now the Stars are heading into the tunnel to go into the locker room for a few last words that Coach Pelly will give them. But here, and we'd like to thank Will Willems of the Lebanon Reporter for all the information he's dug up the last few days of Western Boone football. But Coach Pelly was talking about how his offense is so successful because of Coach Comer. Coach Comer was hired on with Pelly 7 years ago when Pelly came on as well. He started as a defensive coach, and if I remember, it was defensive backs for a while, and then he flipped the switch and went to offense. And the reason that he has been so successful as an offensive coordinator after being such a defensive guy is he's got the perfect game plans each week because he's got that eyes and the mind of a defensive player, and he can know where to pick apart and where to find those weaknesses. As for the defense, Coach Pelly, of course, is an offensive guy, so when he convinced Coach Bruins, the defensive coordinator, to stay on staff when he came in, that was, as Coach Pelly says, a happy marriage since. As Coach Bruins, he's been a part of over 300 games that he told us this last week, and he was a graduate of 1998 runner-up team of this football program, but he's been here and he knows Western Boone football, and he is one of the best coaches there is in the state, and his defensive prowess that he's able to come in with those game plans. Coach, we've all read the article. He owns his own business, of course, and he's got all these obligations towards his business, but he still puts all this time into Western Boone football to where he's able to come in, and after being with his day job of Bruins Lawn Care, he comes and stays up late nights studying teams and creating game plans for Western Boone.
Yeah, and I was actually on the coaching staff in '98 when Travis Bruins played, and he was just very intense competitor, very intense person, and he brings it the same thing to the coaching staff. And the 10 or 15 years I coached after that, he's been part of it ever since he graduated from college. He's come back and help coach either junior high teams or freshman teams or something, and he's just worked his way up, and like I said, has been a great defensive coordinator for several years now.
Yeah, Coach Pelly says he'd put him up against any other coach that he knows as being that mastermind on the defensive side. And the Stars, after their win last week, the 35-13 win over Triton Central, they are now one game over 500 in the whole football program. 255 games won, 254 games lost. And that was really just a hump to show the mediocrity of Western Boone football that has been for the past years. These last 7 years that Coach Pelly has come in, really molded this team and this culture to where it needs to be. To now they're putting in a lot of winning seasons and trying to they got over that hump. Now they're over 500 in their whole the establishment of Western Boone football. And Coach Pelly, of course, like we said, 66 wins. We'll move on and take a look at Coach Adamson of Eastbrook, who is number 5 on the list, or number 6, that is, of the winningest active coach in the state of Indiana. He's 15th all-time in that state through his 31 years coaching. He's been here since 1989 as the head coach. 280 wins, only 88 losses. And Eastbrook as a whole, they've won 358 games, lost 220. And Coach Adamson, he's a member of the Grant County Sports Hall of Fame, as he very well should be, as good of a coach as he is.
Yeah, it's rare that you can see a coach stay that long. You know, you get a few around the state that do that, but he's been there, like you said, for 31 years. I was just talking to the athletic director, and he said he was actually a graduate of Eastbrook and was on the coaching staff for a couple years before that. So basically, he's been a Panther lifer, and I've got him down also as 13 sectional championships during those 31 years and 6 regionals and 3 semi-states. Like I said, this is their 3rd or 4th state finals appearance. So you can tell it's someone who was born and raised in Upland there, and instead of looking for greener pastures and greener money, he's decided to stay and has done an excellent job with the Panther program.
Yeah, now this game last year that these two teams played in this state championship, a lot of records were set in that game, and namely for the Stars, where Spencer Wright, he threw the most passing touchdowns in 2A, a state championship game, tied with Tri-West in 2003. He threw 4 of those, all 4 of them going to Logan Benson, who now holds the record for most touchdown receptions in any class in the state of Indiana. The Stars also kicked 2 field goals, which is a record, not really that astonishing, but a record is a record. That was set by Elliott Young last year. The Stars, really what really got this game going was they set the record for the most first downs in all classes in all the state of Indiana with 30 last year against Eastbrook, and they were able to, every time Eastbrook's defense would get them into that 3rd down situation, even 4th down situation a few times, they were able to pick up that first down, namely by Logan Benson, as we talked about. And Benson, who ended the game with 8 receptions, 152 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And really, there's any key contributor of that last game through the air is no longer with the team. Logan Benson, as we mentioned. Luke Kernodle had 4 receptions, 86 yards. He's not with the team this year. Joe Hendricks, 7 for 51. And then a couple other guys there. The Stars, they lost their top 7 receivers coming into this year, and somehow they've still been able to get back to this game, only losing 1 game.
Well, you touched on it earlier in the halftime adjustments. It was extremely noticeable that they decided at halftime that they needed to put the ball up in the air, and that's, I want to say, the first or second play of the half was a 50 or 60-yard touchdown to Logan Benson, where you could tell they definitely noticed a mismatch. Logan Benson, also a high jump champion. He's 6'3", 6'4", and we just got to the point where the Stars were just throwing it up to him. And as you said, he ended up with 4 touchdowns. But it was definitely a halftime adjustment to go to the passing game and putting the ball in Spencer Wright's hands. And obviously we had a good receiving crew that could finish it off for us.
Yeah, and both quarterbacks from that last year's matchup, they're playing this year. Spencer Wright went 25 for 35, 330 yards, and those 4 touchdowns. Also threw an interception, but he ended with a quarterback rating of 127.1, a very good number there. And Dylan Bragg is the quarterback on the other side. Now, if you remember last year with Eastbrook, they had that 2-headed quarterback battle, and you don't really see a time share at the quarterback position much, but what it was is one guy handled most of the passing work. The other guy, Dylan Bragg, handled most of the rushing work and handing off the ball and all that stuff. So now it's all of Bragg's show, and he's been able to develop into a bit of a better passer here, but Eastbrook, they don't even pass a whole lot, and for most of the, I believe I looked it up earlier, and for every every like 9 or 10 rushes is where they throw that one pass, and they're only averaging 2 pass completions a game as Eastbrook. They are heavy on the rushing game, and Bragg is a perfect quarterback for that.
Yeah, the Panthers definitely are the wing T offense, and I was talking to Coach Bruins for the Stars defensive coordinator just a few minutes ago, and he was saying that Eastbrook's probably going to be a little more difficult to defend this year because they've got 4 guys in the backfield that all have 10 touchdowns or more, and they're all great runners, including the quarterback Bragg. And where last year the focus was mainly on Kirby, just trying to stop him. But anytime you've got the Panthers have 3-4 people in that wing T offense, it's very difficult, and the defense is going to have to make sure that they do their job and not try to do someone else's job. The defensive tackles have to tackle the dive man. The ends have to tackle the quarterback when he keeps it, and the linebackers have to take care of the running backs when they have it. But as soon as a tackle starts trying to go for the quarterback, that's when the dive man's going to have it for a 60-yard run up the middle.
Yeah, and that's the Stars. They're 13-1, and as you mentioned, their only loss this year came against Western, who runs a really heavy rushing attack, similar to the way Eastbrook does. And what really got the Stars late in that game after they went into halftime with a big lead is Western, namely the Panthers. They were able to go and attack the play-action pass area of the Stars' defense. They're able to throw it into the air a lot when the Stars were expecting more of a run game, and that's really where we've seen the weakness of this Stars defense is in that play-action secondary, where so many of the guys are used to going forward and getting that, just trying to tackle the ball carrier. They're not really looking out for that pass. The play action is really what's going to set up Eastbrook for success if they want to go through the air tonight, which they very well may have to.
And another example I always refer to, sometimes losses are good for you, and in that particular case, it was the second game of the year, Western, a 4A team, and the Stars basically had an entire new secondary. They graduated almost everyone from the year before, so you're talking about people who maybe had their second varsity game experience, and Western definitely took advantage of that. But at game 15, the Stars are definitely more prepared for that. And as you're saying, those young guys want to come up. Well, in a game like Western, when they get beat several times, it kind of teaches you to stay back until you know for sure what's happening, and that's just all part of trying to play better teams.
Yeah, and you mentioned really by game 15, you think they have things figured out, right?
Yes.
Well, the Stars, their starting defense from the very beginning of the year, they weren't together for the majority of the season, injuries and stuff. Now they're together, and that starting core that has been working with each other all these years, they are now playing together. In these last 5 games that they've been together, that starting defense has only allowed 20 points before the secondary defense, the JV, and everyone comes in and allows the other touchdowns we've seen. But in tournament play, only 20 points allowed through 5 games by the starting defense of Western Boone. That's astonishing.
Yeah, and one of the main injuries you're referring to is Brett Wellington has been nursing a hamstring issue, and the coaches have tried to do a good job of limiting his minutes to try to keep him fresh for tournament time, and he doesn't have nearly as many ball carries, rushes as he normally would have because they're trying to save him for the defensive side. And in that case, Robbie Taylor has just stepped up big time for the Stars to fill in for Brett. But I have a feeling when you're a senior and you have a nagging injury, they're going to use him as much as they possibly can because he knows he doesn't have to worry about next week.
That's right. And Robbie Taylor, you mentioned, he has almost 200 carries this year. 1,250 yards, 17 touchdowns. And just this last week, he had 29 carries, 140 yards, and 3 touchdowns on the ground. Wellington, he's taken the back seat. He started the year being the main guy who got most of those carries. But as you mentioned, these last few weeks, the Stars, they've been trying to scale that back a bit. 120 carries on the year, 788 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Still pretty good numbers. Just this last week, for example, of that scaling his numbers back, he only had 4 carries, and he took them for 30 yards. So it wasn't the fact that he was being ineffective with him. They just wanted to save him more for defense, where he is the main man there at the middle linebacker spot. First team all-conference for the Stars is Brett Wellington, and he's played really nice even with that hamstring nagging injury the last few weeks. He's still been able to get in his reps on defense and hasn't really lost a step on that side of the ball.
I would probably expect more of like a 2/3, 1/3, maybe 2/3 Robbie Taylor getting carries, and then maybe about a third with Brett Wellington, along with the motion, the wing T that the Stars also get in sometimes, where Connor Hull is getting the ball on a pitch, that motion up pitch sweep. to keep the defense honest as the Stars are trying to run up the middle and they start packing the middle. That's when the Stars can either start throwing it or start pitching it to mainly Connor Hull or Luke Marsh.
Yeah, Connor has 25 carries, 332 yards on the year with 7 touchdowns, one of those coming last week. And he's one of those guys, you mentioned Eastbrook, with all their motion stuff that they have going on and all the misdirection, everything that they work through in their backfield. The Stars, they've got Connor Hull who can do just as much stuff. And he's second in the team in tackles on defense as the free safety, as the strong safety that is. And he plays every single facet of the game and almost every down. He's the kick returner, the punt returner. He plays everywhere. Is Connor Hull, the senior, and you see that with his dad, Brian Hull, and the impact he's had on this football program. Now Connor Hull's coming up and setting up his own legacy for that.
Yeah, now Connor, where he reminds me of his dad a lot is the fact that they're very intense. Every time Connor touches the ball, he can smell the end zone. If it's a punt return or kickoff return, he's not just looking to gain 5 or 10 yards on something. He is looking for the end zone, and that's also why he has, I think, 3 punt returns for a touchdown. I think he might even have an interception return for a touchdown, but anytime he touches the ball, he's finding a way to get to the end zone.
Yeah, and you see it a lot, especially with his punt and kick returns, where he may take a few yards back first. So he may, as he reroutes the field, goes to the other side, he loses yardage on his runs, and then all of a sudden you see him shoot up field, teleports 10 yards forward, and all of a sudden he's out for a touchdown. You can see that he's looking for the end zone. A normal guy who just wanted to get those 5 yards and keep moving, they would take the punt return and go straight forward. Connor is not wired like that.
Yeah, no, a lot of people, in the stands are like, why is he running sideways? Well, usually you have a wall set up, either a wall left or wall right, and sometimes you do have to run 5 yards backwards maybe to get around that last blocker, and he knows where that wall's at, and he's finding it and going to try to get down the sidelines.
Looking down right now at the stands, it looks like the Stars on the near sideline have a lot more fans in the stands than on the other side for Eastbrook, but there's still time before the game starts. Eastbrook has a longer ways to go than Western Boone, just a half hour from here. So I'm sure that'll fill in more. But down you hear Brad Wallace getting the crowd with his really loud Weibo chant that you hear all the time. And he came up for a pep session Tuesday afternoon at Western Boone and was showing off that as he got the award for one of the most outstanding one of the most outstanding fans that the Stars have ever had, in that getting that student section pumped up, leading all these first down cheers and using his voice to get Western Boone pumped up. And the players here on the sideline too, and when they're on the field, and that really helps get them pumped up as well.
Yeah. Not counting walk-up traffic, but I was just talking to the Eastbrook athletic director, and he said they sold approximately 1,400 tickets. And I know Western Boone with Jeremy Dexter at one point was 2,500 and had to get an extra 500 on top of that, I think. So our the Western Boone pre-sale crowd is probably pushing 3,000, and the pre-sale crowd for Eastbrook's probably pushing 1,500. But you just never know what kind of walk-up traffic you're going to have. But for a 2A game, they talked about it last year that it was pretty impressive that it was the entire Western Boone side was pretty much filled. And it's people visiting at the holidays, Thanksgiving time period. I know myself, I had a daughter and a son-in-law coming in from Colorado, so we came to the game. You just have whoever's hosting Thanksgiving probably just made last year's Friday game part of it. Now I don't know how many people had to fly back or if they were able to stay in town for this one, but it's definitely an impressive crowd for a 2A football game.
Yeah, let's take a break here and be back in just a minute, and we'll get into some more stats and matchups before the game. The kickoff, 9 minutes.
You want to feel goosebumps? Then purchase a ticket to an athletic event at your local high school. You'll be making a lasting difference in your community. Buying a ticket to an IHSAA game or meet helps ensure your school has the funding it needs to operate. New uniforms, safer equipment, transportation. Your ticket purchase helps to pay for it all. You're also helping today's student athletes learn the life skills they need to get better jobs and become better leaders. Plus, you'll see them do some amazing things.
Whoa! Did you see that? Oh, man, I think I just got goosebumps.
Me too.
High school sports. We pay, they play. Everybody wins. This message brought to you by the IHSAA. encouraging you to go to a high school game this week and help build a future that benefits us all.
We're back here at Lucas Oil Stadium in the middle of Indianapolis, where you look outside and it's raining. It's pretty foggy and everything out there. Good thing we're inside in this domed stadium, and the dome is one of its kind. When the stadium was built in 2008, I believe, this was the first type of roof that they had where you have two panels starting on the outside that come together in the middle right at that midfield 50-yard line. So definitely thankful for that we get to play in the inside and not outside where it's all rainy right now. And maybe we'll see some fireworks in the air for the Stars offense and Eastbrook's passing game as well. As we mentioned, that play-action passing game. Eastbrook, if you want to talk about it a little bit, their early schedule, how they started and they were being pushed around a lot. And then all of a sudden they came back now. They are doing very well.
Yeah, and it's basically a sign of where you have a head coach for 31 years. You know you're going to get there eventually. But I happen to notice, just looking at scores early on, that they got blown out by Marion, and then a week or two later they got blown out by Delta. And my thought was, hey, they graduated everybody and they're going to struggle. But looking back at it, Delta ended up, I think, 7-3 on the year. And Marion ended up, I think, 9-3 and almost won the sectional. So they got beat by two 4A teams early in the year, just like Western Boone got beat by Western early in the year. But you can tell Coach Adamson definitely used that as a guide to, hey, where's our weaknesses at, where we need to get better, and they've run off nothing but wins ever since week 3, I believe.
Now, earlier in the year, I was looking at these scores every week that we had early in the year. As I'm looking through these scores and tracking teams around the state, Eastbrook was obviously at the front of that list. The Stars just played them the last year. Everyone from Western Boone is at least curious to see how Eastbrook was doing. When they lost 35-19 against Marion and 44-7 against Delta to open up the year, you really thought that Eastbrook wasn't going to be any good this year. They lost a lot of seniors from last year, and especially that Zane Kirby was the tight end, the really good tight end that they had last year. He's gone. And that second quarterback that we mentioned with the big arm. And so they lost a lot of seniors. They lost our first two games, and everyone thought, okay, Eastbrook, they're done. So I even stopped tracking them so much myself. It's not really worth taking a look at Eastbrook since they're already 0-2, and they look like they're really bad after doing so poor, only 26 points the first two games, including 7 in week 2. But then they went 58-0 against Madison Grant, 21-14 against Mississinawa. They went 38-13 against Oak Hill, and they just kept ripping off these big wins, scored 68 points against Frankton. They next week 48 against Alexandria, 31 against Blackford, and then get to 70-0 against Elwood in week 9. And then they face Blackford again for the first week of sectionals, where they beat them 42-13, 34-7 against Tipton, who the Stars remember from the last few years of sectional play. Then they went and played the undefeated Eastern team, beat them 42-12. East Side 42-9, and of course Andrean last week, where they won 26-14. And as you mentioned, they really had to just see, and the coaching was to get them where their weaknesses are, where their strengths were, and just kind of reset after those first two losses.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to make a correction on that I misstated 2 weeks ago. Western Boone is not guaranteed to move up to 3A. It resets itself every time there's an alignment every 2 years. So our state championship last year has no impact on what we have right now. So for us to move up, we're still going to be 2A next year, unless we were to win a regional next year, and then we would move up the following year. But it resets itself every 2 years when realignment is in place.
Let's listen to the national anthem. We're back. Didn't really get a chance to listen to that national anthem, but it was played. It was sang by our own Tori Wilkinson at Western Boone, and who sings a lot of those games at Western Boone, especially basketball games and such, and volleyball. But she was able to sing that here at Lucas Oil in front of this crowd, and I think that's pretty amazing, being able to be able to sing that national anthem in front of everyone here representing Western Boone.
Going to be a lot of pressure when you're that age to do something like that, and Tori stepped up really well.
So we were talking about Eastbrook here. Every 13 rushes is where you get that pass attempt, and there's really such a run-heavy team, and their motion offense is really what makes that acceptable. Is a lot of times like those motions and tosses, that's like an extension of the screen game even, and it really shows if you can't just run the ball up the middle every single play unless you're twice the size of who you're playing. But their creativity from Coach Adamson, who's been around for 31 years, as we mentioned, he's been really able to come up with some creative schemes for this offense of Eastbrook, and they know Western Boone pretty well after playing them last year, and after coming 3 out of the 4 years to the state championship, still haven't won one. They're looking for revenge today.
Yeah, and the whole key to that wing T offense is you don't know where the ball is. So, as I said earlier, the defense has to do their job. You tackle the fullback whether he's got the ball or not. For the defensive tackles tackle the fullback no matter what. You don't assume he doesn't have it. You tackle him. The defensive ends have got to hit the quarterback every time he's faking it. And then the linebacker's job is to take care of the running backs. And as soon as you stop doing your job, that's when the guy you were supposed to tackle does have it. But it's all about hiding the ball and deception. But it's something Western Boone does as well. Just Eastbrook does a little bit more, but it's something that both teams are going to be familiar with in practice. The only difference is Western Boone, if Eastbrook stops the run, might have a little bit of an edge when it comes to the passing game if they were required to pass with Spencer Wright.
This is where it gets tricky because we mentioned everything Western Boone's defense needs to do to stop Eastbrook's offense. For Eastbrook, they have to defend two facets of the game because while Spencer Wright may not have all the stats that you look for, he has been amazing, just as good if not better as last year. Last year, Spencer was a 2A Player of the Year. He was 145 for 220, 2,400 yards through the air. He had that 65.9% completion percentage, which was a single season record, and a lot of these were single season records. Threw for 31 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. All these amazing stats got Spencer Wright his 2A Player of the Year award last year, and I don't think anyone can argue with how good Spencer has been last year. This year, they've transitioned to more of that run game attack where they ran for all these rushing yards, but Spencer has been just as good. And you look at his stats, and you can't say he's just as good. He's got about half the numbers as he did last year. But look at that. His completion percentage is almost identical. Yards per attempt, almost identical. Yards per completion, identical. Touchdowns, he has less touchdowns, but less. So he's thrown 22 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. So he hasn't thrown as much there, but of course he hasn't thrown the ball as much. Here's a stat I really like to look at, Coach, is the touchdown rate. And you look at some of the guys in the NFL. Career touchdown percentage for Aaron Rodgers is 6.06. Tom Brady, 5.42. These are some of the best numbers, record-setting numbers for what rate of your passes result in a touchdown. And in that 5 and 6 mark is really where the elite guys hang in the NFL. Spencer has a 15.6% touchdown rate this year.
Yeah.
Because when he throws the ball, it's usually towards the end zone.
And that's part of what the running game does is the running game gets the defense to bite, and then that just really makes every pass that much easier for him. But you're right. I mean, he's basically taken a back seat, and the offensive Western Boone has chosen to make the 5 linemen the focal point with Casey Foster up front at center and Sam Biggs and Colton Chapman at the guards and Jake Jones and Max Johnson at the tackles. The Stars have made that become the focal point, and instead of throwing the ball all the time. And I think if you see Eastbrook start to stuff the run a little bit, you'll see Spencer Wright open it up a little bit more. But when you have a 22-4 touchdown to interception ratio, I don't think Jamie Comer as the offensive coordinator here is afraid to get the ball in his hands and throw it if he has to.
Yeah, and it's pretty impressive the numbers he's been able to put up, even though he's taken that back seat to where he's only throwing it just a handful of times per game. Spencer Wright has been very impressive there. And last year we saw the first half where Eastbrook, they came out and they pretty much stopped Western Boone's run game for the most part. And that is where Spencer went out and he completed those 25 attempts. And he threw for those 330 yards because he needed to. In a similar situation, Eastbrook, they might be playing with fire if they try to stop this run game completely of Western Boone.
And that's where the coaches up in the press box are going to have to give Coach Comer an idea of, hey, they were really starting to bite. The corners are really starting to play tight. We need to open it up a little bit, and that's what the coaches in the press box are supposed to be doing, is kind of watching the field and seeing, are they bringing 9 guys into the box to stop the run, or are they staying back? And I think that's where the Stars probably have a little bit of advantage, is that run-pass combination they are capable of doing.
Now, this senior class for Western Boone has been so impressive. They have 18 of those seniors, and they started in 7th grade. They went 7-1 on the football field. Okay, it's 7th grade, no big deal. 8th grade, 8-0 on the football field. And so Coach Pelly and the coaching staff could see that these guys have a lot of potential. These guys, including Spencer Wright and Connor Hull, all these guys that have been playing together all their lives, they were putting it into translation on the football field in junior high. But once again, it's junior high, and it's not that big of a deal. However, they came up as freshmen, and they had the talent to play on varsity as freshmen, and they were that good. But Coach Pelly says, no, I want these guys to play on JV so they can stay together, and all of these guys can stay playing as one unit. And sure enough, freshman year, they went 9-0 on JV.
Yeah, and a lot of times at school arts, Western Boone and Eastbrook size, you might not even have a freshman team, but when you do have a good group coming like this, instead of fragmenting the team and maybe 2 or 3 guys playing varsity on Friday night and the others playing freshmen, and that's where you kind of fragment the egos a little bit and fragment the parents, and instead they just decide to keep them all together, let them keep winning, let them keep learning how to win, instead of having a freshman maybe getting beat up on Friday night and losing their ego a little bit. They decide to keep them together, and obviously in this situation, hindsight is definitely 20/20, and I don't think there's any regrets when you've got back-to-back state championship appearances.
Yeah, and you can tell the chemistry between all these guys is about as good as you could ever ask for with any group of guys. And as I mentioned, these guys, they've grown up playing together, up through since flag football in kindergarten. It's been this central group of guys. Their parents all played together for the most part on the championship teams of Western Boone before, and you could just tell that these guys were going to be something special growing up, and they were always so talented, but what they needed to develop was that chemistry. And here now, after almost 17, 18 years of them being together, they've really developed that chemistry. And the Western Boone team right now running out of the tunnel and being greeted by their fans on the sideline. And we were talking about the difference between Eastbrook's fans, Western Boone's fans. It has filled in a bit more on the other side of the field, so not time to panic for Eastbrook here, as kickoff is coming up soon, and we'll see how this team starts out. We'll head into a break here and break down a little bit more before we start this game.
What's included in the price of a ticket when you attend a high school athletic event? For starters, greater opportunities for our kids.
And here comes Lopez. He dribbles, fakes, shoots, and scores! A high-paying job!
Putting today's young people on the pathway to success. Inspiring them to never give up. Encouraging them to always do their best. Teaching them how to be better leaders. It's all included in the price of admission when you go to an IHSAA athletic event. All you have to do is buy a ticket.
I can do that.
High school sports. We pay, they play, everybody wins. This message brought to you by the IHSAA, encouraging you to go to a high school game this week and help build a future that benefits us all.
Oh, my goodness!
We're back here now as Eastbrook's team and the Panthers, they're running out onto the field from their tunnel, coming out of their locker room, and now both these teams lining up. The captain's about to meet at midfield, and we're going to get underway here shortly. And if we want to get through some starting lineups in a little bit, as these teams, as we mentioned so many times, they've met last year and it can't be overstated the relationship that they've grown. Is almost Eastbrook looking for blood is what I've heard a lot so far over the week, is that they're really trying to avenge their loss last year, and just the potential that those seniors had last year of Eastbrook, how they were not able to finish it off in the game. And Eastbrook, they were hurt by losing by 2 touchdowns. They're going to look to win by 2 touchdowns or more here today, and their crowd starting to fill in, and Western Boone making some noise as well, as the captains are meeting at midfield. Captains for Western Boone, of course, Connor Hull, Brett Wellington, Casey Foster, and Josh Benson here. They're doing the coin flip.
For those that don't know, that most of the time the coin flip was already done about 20, 30 minutes ago. This is just official for the media and the TV more. So Eastbrook has won the toss and chose to defer to the second half, and they will be kicking off first. So the Stars offense will be on the field first.
I'm sure the outcome of last year's coin toss really was kept in mind of these captains, as last year Western Boone, they won the coin toss, they deferred, and they came out after being down by a touchdown at the half. They came out firing in the second half. They had the ball first. They had that long pass to Benson, as you mentioned, for the touchdown. So Eastbrook looking to duplicate that now here tonight with the deferring it.
Most of the time in high school, you have the attitude that defense is always ready to play before the offense is. Offense is more about timing. Defense is more about excitement and just going at it. So most high school coaches will defer and try and intentionally be on defense first and then get that ball coming out in the second half. The NFL used to be the other way around. The NFL would typically always want the ball first. But even the NFL has gotten the last few years to where teams realize it's important to control the ball at the end of the first half, and it's always nice to have that ball to start the second half to help your strategy that last minute of the first half.
Yeah, and that really helped that last minute that you mentioned. This last week, Western Boone, they played Triton Central. They won 35-13, but the game was a lot closer than the score looks, because it was right towards the end of the first half where the Stars, Triton Central just scored, and Western Boone has the ball. They're up by 7. And they can either just take a knee like they have most of the year at the half and just go into the locker room with a 7-point lead, get the ball in the second half, and be fine. But instead, they went out there and they ran their 2-minute drill, more like 1-minute drill, and went down. Stoudemire had the big 4th down completion towards the goal line, and Robbie Taylor punched in the 2-yard touchdown. And then the Stars came out the second half, firing just as much, and they were able to score there as well and really turn the tides of the game. Here's kickoff as these guys are ready to kick the ball. This one is a squib right down to the 15-yard line, goes out of bounds. Connor Hull back there to return it, but the flag comes out and the ball goes out of bounds.
Not a good start for the Panthers. I know they're probably trying to keep the ball away from Connor Hull, but they aimed it to the sideline a little too much, and that is not where you want to have your opponent start on the 35-yard line to start the game.
Number 36, Lucas Schultz was the kicker there, and now Western Boone will start with the ball, 35-yard line. They've been so good scoring in the first quarter so far this year, and that's really what they're going to look to do here and make Eastbrook think a little bit more about letting them have the ball first, as you mentioned, with the NFL trying to get that momentum right out of the gate.
Just to give you an idea of Western Boone's philosophy here, instead of going to the wing T, they are spread with 2 receivers wide right and a receiver wide left with 1 wing. So this typically is a, spread the defense out. Now it still might be a run up the middle, but they are definitely wanting to spread the Panther defense out.
Brett Wellington, the running back in the pistol. It'll be a handoff left side to Wellington. Wellington tripped up after he gets a few yards on his first carry of the day. Mark it down for 4 yards. Brett Wellington, the starting running back and linebacker. And we mentioned that first quarter scoring for the Stars. They're averaging almost 18 points in the first quarter of this year.
That was definitely a spread offense, and I could see how they might get the ball to one of the 2 receivers. Wellington just barely got tripped up by number 48, Jason Hale, the leading tackler.
Now it'll be a pass looking to the near side. It's caught by Stoudemire. Stoudemire pushed out of bounds. 2 yards past the first down marker. That'll be the first down of the game. Of course, last year the Stars had 30 in this one, and Stoudemire with a nice catch to the near side and pushed out of bounds, moves the chains.
And he was tackled by the Panthers, number 22. On the sideline, like I said, for a first down. But now they're going trips right.
Stars are on the 48-yard line in that pistol formation. It'll be a handoff up the middle. Wellington with some open room and trips forward. He gets a gain of about 12 yards, moves to the other side of the field, And if he kept his feet up, he might have gone to the house on that one, but he's tripped up a little bit and moves forward for his second carry of the game.
The Panthers are seeing a formation they haven't seen from the Stars in several weeks, and they really have the down linemen spread quite a bit, which is really opening up for Brett Wethington. I think the receivers right now are just a decoy to spread them out, and as that defensive front spreads, it's just going to give all kinds of holes for the Stars linemen.
The Stars offense so hard to control if you're the defense of Eastbrook. Here's the spread formation. It'll be a handoff up the middle again. Wethington piles forward, dives over the line. He gets a gain of 3 or 4 yards before he's brought down, sets up second down and medium.
Like I said, you'll especially as the field shortens here, the Stars are now down to the 33-yard line. As the field shortens, you'll probably see the Panthers start to collapse their defense a little bit more, but they are still man-to-man coverage on the outside.
From the 33, near side hash mark, pistol formation, 2 receivers at the top of the screen, 1 at the bottom, and a tight end to the left side. Spencer Wright, handoff to the right side. It'll be a quarterback keeper. Wright's got open field to the right side. He's at the 30, now the 25, making some room to the 30 and goes out of bounds at the 21-yard line. Moves the chains. Spencer Wright with his first rush of the day and sets up the Stars offense in the red zone right at the 20-yard line with the 1st and 10.
The Panthers definitely went to a 5-man front to try to stop that, and basically Spencer Wright has the option of handing it to Wethington or keeping it, and once he saw the defense collapse, he just kept it around the outside tackle for a big gain.
Number 37, Logan Collins, the one to push right out of bounds and stop an even bigger gain. Here's trips formation set at the near side. Far hash mark is where the ball is set.
No backs in the backfield.
Backfield just went out. Quarterback keeper, and he's dropped down 4. He gets right back to the line of scrimmage as Spencer Wright. He bobbled the snap a little bit. You don't see that very often. His chemistry, of course, with the center, Casey Foster. He gets back to the line of scrimmage, 2nd and 10 at the 20-yard line. And you saw the halfback there dump out and empty it behind the trips formation. So he had 4 guys set out to the near side, and I wonder if they were going to look to pass there before they had the botched snap.
It looked like, I think it was Spencer was probably going to run it, but just kind of bobbled it and ran with it a little too quick.
3 receivers set, 1 running back is Wethington. Handoff to Wethington. It'll be quarterback keeper now to Spencer Wright, and Spencer is pushed forward. He gets 6 yards on the play after what looked like he could have been stopped after 3, and now the ball will be put with 3rd and about 4 at the 14-yard line.
Yeah, that great deception there. Definitely had us fooled as well. That looked like Wethington had it, but instead Spencer pulled it and kept it. It got hit about the 2-yard gain, but the hit actually pushed him another 3 or 4 yards.
Here's Wright again, this time in the heavy formation. Wethington, the man in the backfield, man in motion is whole. Handoff left side. Wethington gets a gain of maybe 1, not enough for the first down. 2-yard gain sets it 4th and 2, and the Stars will most likely go for it here at the 12-yard line. But you got to wonder, they kicked 2 field goals in the game last year. Maybe they'll try to kick a field goal here. No, they'll stay on the field.
And that's the first time the Stars went to the 2-wing formation, and Connor Hull did the motion up and gave it to Wethington up the middle. 4th and 1, lots of options. It's a long one, kind of a short 2.
The crowd getting loud here. 8 minutes left in the first quarter. 4th and 2 on the 12-yard line. Heavy set formation. Wethington the backfield. Man in motion is the wing. Handoff left side. Wethington, does he get it? He goes forward, and he does. They mark him. First down, Western Boone on 4th and 2 with just over 8 minutes left in the first quarter. The first 4th down conversion of the Stars, and the crowd goes wild.
It's going to be 1st and goal from the 8, and the last formation is what the Stars have been doing the last 3 or 4 weeks with the tight formation and 2 wings. Look for Connor Hull maybe to get it this time around the outside. 1
wide receiver set on the far side's Garrity.
Yep.
Looks to be a toss. Connor Hull, he's at the 5, he's at the 4, he's in. Pylon's down, touchdown. Connor Hull for the Stars with 6 points on the far side off of a toss, and he goes in for the gain, the touchdown with 7 minutes and 40 seconds left in the first. The Stars, the first ones ahead on the scoreboard. Connor Hull, number 24, the senior wingback, goes in for his 8th rushing touchdown of the year.
That's what makes the Stars so tough to defend is you get that defense trying to stop the dive, and then they pitch it on a motion up for Connor on a pitch sweep.
An 8-yard gain. Here's the kick. It goes up through the uprights. Kick is good. 7-0 your score after Jake Taylor makes his 52nd PAT of the year. And the school song plays. Western Boone with their first score of the game. And once again, Eastbrook, they let that one happen as the Stars, everyone knows the Stars are so hot on that first drive. And they score almost every time with that first drive. And here Eastbrook, they gave him the ball to start out with. And sure enough, 7 points for the Western Boone.
I'd be willing to bet that Coach Comer and Coach Pele did script, how they were going to handle that first particular series. They came out in a formation the first 5 or 6 plays that, unless the Panthers had access to an older film, had probably not seen, spread the defense out. Weathington ended up with 5 carries for 30 yards on that drive. Spencer Wright pulled it and kept it himself 3 times for 19. And then, of course, in typical fashion, Connor Hull 1 carry and a touchdown. Is pretty typical of how he's been all year. Every time he touches the ball, he's looking for the end zone.
Yeah, Connor, he's got 26 carries now, and his average yards per game, it's only 24 yards per game. And as you mentioned, he only gets 1, 2, maybe 3 of those, but he takes them really far. That time on the jet sweep on the outside, goes in and dives to the far pylon to go into the end zone for the touchdown. Connor Hull is so good with the ball in his hands.
Yeah, he's got 7 rushing touchdowns on only 25 carries, and he's got 10 receiving touchdowns and only 29 receptions. So his touchdown percentage is pretty high, and that's not counting his 3 he's got on punt return. So he's got a total of 20 touchdowns because he just finds the end zone. But need to give credit to the 5 linemen as well. Like I said, Foster, Biggs, Chapman, Johnson, and Jones are definitely creating holes. The coordinators, Comer and Pele, definitely created some holes by spreading them out. But then the linemen did a good job of creating holes for Weathington.
And up on the Jumbotron, they're showing all 4, it looks like, of Logan Benson touchdowns against Eastbrook this past year. And what was really a heavy passing game year for the Stars. And while they still had a lot of key contributors on the ground, they had the wide receivers to go for it. And now the crowd's cheering because they're showing a picture of the state championship trophy up on the big screen.
Yeah, and like I said, it was definitely a halftime adjustment they made where, I think they saw there was a mismatch on the outside with Benson. Benson not only is 6'4" and can jump, but he's also, long-legged and runs well. And a couple of those were short passes he turned into touchdowns, and a couple of them were longer passes where he was able to out-jump the corner.
Now the Stars kickoff team heading out on the field. Number 18, Elliott Young, the one that's going to kick this one off, the kickoff specialist of the last couple games.
Looks like he's looking to kick left.
And this kick does go left. Barrels on the ground to the 20, now the 15, to the 10. Picked up now on the near side and taken to the far side. He's losing yardage, still moving. Now brought down at the 10-yard line. A loss of 5 from where he picked up the ball. And Josh Benson, Mitch Miller, a couple of Western Boone Stars, the ones to bring him down at the 10-yard line of his own.
There was an example of where, if you're in the stands, you're like, why is he running sideways? He's trying to get to the return left wall, but the Stars were able to break through it, and he was never able to get to the wall.
Number 22, Isaiah Dalton, the return man who had to pick it up off the ground after the kick bounced, and a nice play call. That one was schemed up to where it would bounce. Here's the first play, and brought down for a loss of 1 is Eastbrook, and Wyatt Stevenson off of the rush to the near side. And now we'll see 2nd down and 11 from the 9-yard line of Eastbrook.
That was Jake Jones busting through and making a play. Eastbrook's going no huddle, quick jet sweep.
To the far side, still moving. He's got a couple blockers in front of him. Finally brought out of bounds by Connor Hull, and will set up 3rd down and short. And now with 3, maybe 4 yards to go, Eastbrook, they're in danger of a 3 and out.
21, Zach Beekert was on the jet sweep, going across and again going no huddle.
And we'll see that a lot with Bankers. Whenever he gets the ball after this play, he goes to looking to pass, play action. He's got wide open space to the 20, now 25, brought down at the 30. And what did we talk about, Coach Smith? When Eastbrook looks to pass the ball, it's going to be on play action. And there the Stars were expecting a run. Play action had wide open field on the near side, and Eastbrook going with that hurry up, not giving us a whole lot of time to talk.
Yep, hurry up again, just a quick little out pass, and it was enough for the 1st down.
Wing T formation, it'll be a handoff, misdirection to the near side. Now brought down, minimal gain, 1 or 2 yards, as Cortez Stoudemire, one of the main guys to get in it.
That was a quick counter play out of that wing T. They were very successful that last week against Andrean. but only about 2 yards on this one.
Man in motion, handoff to the near side, Stevenson. Now to the far side, moving forward. He's stopped after a gain of just 1 yard. And now 3rd and 7 to go for Eastbrook. They're at their own 33-yard line, 3rd and 6 that is, with 6.5 minutes left to go in the first. Wing T formation, man in motion. It'll be a handoff to the other wing. Binkert is now surges forward, stopped just short of the first down marker. We're going to see 4th and inches.
Yeah, that's last week their best play was that counter out of the wing T. The Stars were able to get penetration up the center, and they're going for it on 4th and inches. Going to need to watch the snap count.
Hurry up, 4th and inches, handoff up the middle. He's got it as Stevenson surges forward, and the crowd for Eastbrook, now their turn to go wild as they move the chains now at the 40.5-yard line.
They're definitely trying to speed the pace up a little bit and perhaps trying to get the bigger defensive tackles for the Stars tired, perhaps.
Man in motion, handoff, Stevenson, the fullback, will be brought down. Minimal gain. He might have got 1, if at all. And you mentioned earlier pregame how the Stars, in order to be more aware and kind of try to punish the quarterback Bragg, is to hit him even when he's faking. And there you saw Bragg take a few steps back after he was pummeled by Josh Benson. Looking to pass this one, quarterback keeper shovels out option play, and it's swallowed up for a loss of 1 by number 7, Spencer Wright, playing safety, brings him down as the toss went out to the far side to Binkert.
That's perfect play. The corner's job is to cover the pitch man. The quarterback should have kept it there because the end did not have him stopped.
Isaiah Dalton, the one credited with the rush on that one, now looking to pass on the far side, running. He's going to take this himself as Bragg, and he's swallowed up. He's stopped at the line of scrimmage, not quite a sack, but brought down by number 16, Brett Wethington in pursuit, and Dylan Bragg not able to get a yard, 4th and 10, and here comes the punt team of Eastbrook.
Yeah, it was a rollout the opposite direction for a right-hander, and looked like Bragg was trying to keep it, and I think he was just misjudged Brett Wellington's speed a little bit. I think he thought he was going to be able to get the corner, and Brett Wellington was able to shut him down as their punts in the air now to Connor Hull, which is always exciting.
Punt. And there it drops down to the 10-yard line, now to the 5. Hull picks it up on the near side. He's got some room to work with now at the 11. 15, room in front of him at the 20. Cuts field at the 25. And still moving, swallowed up, 29-yard line by a group of 3 or 4 Eastbrook Panthers, but there is a flag on the play where Hull picked up the ball after it went barreling behind his head and rolled all the way to the 10 or 11-yard line.
Well, as part of the scouting report with coaching is you have to get an idea of how far the guy can punt the ball, and chances are the guy had a little better punt than usual because it went about 5 yards over Connor's head. End over end, Connor's chasing it towards the end zone, which is kind of scary. Was able to field it at the 5, but the Stars had a block in the back at about the 6-yard line, half the distance going to make it Stars ball about the 3.
And what went from what would have been around the 23, 24-yard line brought all the way back to the 3-yard line. And this is huge for this opportunistic defense of Eastbrook. And the turnovers they're able to force. Here's a timeout is called by Coach Pelly as he is trying to get his troops together.
Yeah, one thing that we are not used to is this is a media timeout. So most change of possessions, there will be probably a 1 minute to minute and a half media timeout. High school kids are not used to that. But
high school announcers aren't used to that either. A media timeout that is instead of Coach Pelly. He retains his 3 timeouts, and that's something different from a normal Friday night game.
Yeah, when you're trying to get a little 10-second intermission in. But this will, if you're a Panther, this is your chance to flip the field. You got the ball on the 3-yard line. If you can get the Stars on a 3 and out, you can probably get the ball back at midfield or less. From a Stars standpoint, you just need to get a few first downs and flip the field back again. Obviously, a 97-yard drive would be great for the Stars, but right now they're just looking to try to get it out of the goal line. Even if you can get 1 or 2 chains moved, a couple of first downs, and then get a punt to get it back on the other side of midfield. But the Panthers, they need to keep the Stars where they're at and not give up another drive to go down 2 scores.
This defense for Eastbrook has been really good with takeaways. They're averaging almost 3 per game, 17 interceptions on the year, 22 fumble recoveries, and is a hard-hitting defense that if you're not careful with Western Boone, you might end up with a safety here. Backed up on your own end zone. Wright will be standing in the blue of the Indianapolis end zone.
Yeah, and they have they've got several guys with number 81 for the Panthers has 12 tackles for a loss, and that's definitely what you're looking for right here, as they're showing Eastbrook highlights up top of last week against Andrean on the big screen. But they've got a guy with 13 tackles for a loss, number 32. They've got 12 tackles for a loss, 7 tackles for a loss. So they've got 3-4 guys who understand how to break through the defense or through the offensive line and try to make a play. And I could see some of them trying to gamble on that here to either, back them up even closer to the goal line or possibly even get a safety.
Now I bet that Coach Pelly will come out in that spread formation and try to take a shot at the beginning and maybe not go for the 50-yard air yards bomb, but maybe just try to get a pass, maybe on a quick slant, and give his wide receivers a chance to break something open big.
It'll be interesting to see on the 3-yard line if they go the wide spread and decide to spread it and just run it up the middle, or if they're going to go with the tight formation again.
Now looking at their huddle, looks like there are a lot of big guys in, and they will go with that tight, heavy set formation from the 3-yard line. The Stars wearing white, moving from right to left. Man in motion is the wing, handoff up the middle, swallowed but still moves forward. 3 yards on the gain is Brett Wethington.
Typical Brett Wethington fashion, he gets hit at the line of scrimmage but carries everybody another 3 yards for bring up a second, a long 6 or short 7.
Robbie Taylor in as the back right now. Connor Hull comes in onto the field and sends Cortez Stoudemire to the sideline. And now in that heavy formation still now at their 7-yard line. A little bit more breathing room, but still have to be careful. 2nd and 6, man in motion is Hull. And the flag will be thrown, maybe a neutral zone infraction on the defense. We'll wait and see.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a neutral zone infraction on the defense. And the Stars have you do that to change the snap count to help your offensive linemen. But unfortunately, sometimes you do that and your own offensive lineman will jump once in a while. The Stars have done a great job of that this year, that when they change the snap count, you hardly ever see anybody move on the offense, and it works a lot. We're bringing up a 2nd and a short 1.
Isn't that demoralizing
Yes.
for Eastbrook, as they know they had the chance to stop Western Boone cold in their tracks, backed up at the 3-yard line. Here's the play. Hand off to the left side. Quarterback keeper, Spencer Wright. Cuts it back. He's got open field. He's at the 20-yard line. One guy to beat. Spins it out of him. Now back to midfield at the 32. And Spencer Wright shows his athletic ability that he's been working on all this time as that mobile quarterback, and moves the chains and then some at the 34-yard line. And the vision of Spencer Wright on that play is what looked to be a stop for a loss. He gains that and flips the switch.
The scary part about when you run a dive option like that is he had the ball in the stomach of Logan Wellington for a really long time, and at the very last second pulled it out and was able to get to the other side of the line of scrimmage, dive left, and he was able to keep it and pull it to the right. It looked like he had a chance to break it and then came back. At first I thought maybe there was a chance he was hurt, but I think it was just a tired run. He might have only gained about 20 yards. It ran about 30 or 40 since he went from side to side as well. But looking at him on the screen, he seems fine.
Yeah, he's got his helmet off now, the paint and that Michael Thomas-esque cross on each cheek. And a lot of these guys have that looking at the screen now as they're into a timeout. And we'll stay on the field, though. In on the tackle, the guy that saved the play for Eastbrook and tripped up Spencer Wright from his feet, number 32, Braxton Bowser, the sophomore. He's plays defensive end, and he really showed his speed getting out. After Spencer was well gone, he went and chased him down the pursuit and brought him down. That's a sign of good defense, is when your guys up front are still committed till the very end of the play.
On film, I feel like Eastbrook's got 11 pretty athletic guys. Last year, I think, they had 7 or 8 pretty athletic guys. But this year, it appears all 11 of them have speed and toughness both, and was able to, at least keep Spencer from having a straight shot at the end zone, and made him cut back and turn and twist, and had good pursuit.
Heading back onto the field now is Western Boone. Eastbrook still in their huddle, and we're in a timeout break right now. If we were running through some ads, this timeout break you'd hear a word from the Indian Affair Farm, the Lebanon Martial Arts Academy, and LSI Lawn and Landscaping, but instead we're going to get back to play. Ball set at the 34-yard line, 1st and 10, 2 minutes, 50 seconds left, 7-0 is the score. Western Boone down at timeout.
And that was a Western Boone timeout. I think it was mainly because they thought Spencer was a little shaken up. He seemed a little groggy, but I think he was just tired for the most part. And it's worth the first half timeout. You don't want to use that timeout in the second half when they're a little more important in the game. But I think they felt like it was important enough for him to catch his breath a little bit after that run.
Yeah, Spencer, who exited the game in this matchup last year for a few short plays with that stinger that he was suffering. And he's back here, and you've seen the last few tournament games, Spencer hasn't stuck his neck out quite as much as he did earlier in the season. We saw a lot of plays early in the regular season where he would go for that quarterback sneak or for that extra couple yards, and he hadn't done that this year. Right now, looking at the backfield is Western Boone, that heavy set formation, man in motions, hole, handoff, Taylor left side, moves forward and piles his way for a really impressive gain of 5 yards.
If you're an Eastbrook fan, we apologize for not being able to give credit to tackles, but from where we're positioned at the top rafters of the stadium, the black uniforms and the light gray numbers are very difficult to see for us up here, but we will try to give credit as often as we can.
Lining up now is Brett Wethington, the running back set. In the spread formation pistol, handoff up the middle to Wethington. He's stopped he gets back to the line of scrimmage. Gain of none, and the shortest gain today by any Western Boone Star.
I think, obviously, with third down, you're probably going to see it, but I think as the Stars do more of this spread offense, Eastbrook is starting to stay tight and take away the run. I think you'll see Pelley and Comer make a decision to start throwing the ball out of this spread formation more. Obviously, on 3rd and 6, there's a good chance they're going to throw it anyway.
Number 48, the stud defensive player, Jason Hale, the sophomore linebacker, the one to stop that one for short.
One-on-one coverage with Stoudemire at the top of the screen.
And it is blown dead as Western Boone tried to empty out their tray again and go to that 4 wide receiver set at the bottom of the screen. Was not successful as the play is called dead with penalties on the field.
It appears to me with the back out of the backfield came to turn trips into quads, and it was going to be a one-on-one situation with Stoudemire. It is on the Stars motion penalty, so it's going to back it up to about 3rd and 10. But that was definitely going to be a one-on-one coverage with Stoudemire out there. He had the entire side of the field to himself in the corner.
3rd and 10. Here's the first real test for Western Boone besides that 4th and 2. Spread formation, 1 running back set up in the backfield, 2 wide receivers to the bottom, 1 at the top. Looking to throw, spreading this one out to the near side, throws this one. He's got a man open, caught, toe tap, out of bounds. It's caught. Number 24, Connor Hull, with an amazing catch of 9, 10, 11 yards, and it moves the chains.
That was just a great toe tap. First of all, an excellent job picking up by the line. Eastbrook brought at least 2 guys up the middle from the linebacker position. The Stars picked it up and gave Spencer Wright plenty of time to let that route develop, and Connor Holt toe-tapped it on the sideline.
Connor had the Shelbourne knee play of the week last week with his amazing flea flicker. Here's another pass to the near side, wide receiver screen, and now making some room at the 50, now 40-yard line to the 41 is the wide receiver Connor Hull, who does everything for Western Boone and moves the chains once again on that bubble screen to the far side.
Yep, it was on the trip side right, and it was Connor Hull just bubbled back and ended up being a wide receiver screen with 2 wide receiver blockers out there. And like I said, anytime Connor Hull gets the ball, something exciting is probably going to happen, and that was a gain of 12.
For the Panthers, it was number 12, Aiden Miller, number 24, Devin Stupples, the 2 guys to bring him down after he moved the chains. Now from the 41-yard line, 1st and 10 set. 40-yard line of Eastbrook. Spread formation still. Now it'll be a handoff up the middle. Wethington with some room. He gets 6 yards on the carry.
That's an example where the last 2 passes out of that formation kind of spread the defense out a little bit, and then you hit Brett Wethington up the middle for about a gain of 6.
2nd and 4 on the 35-yard line. 30 seconds left in the first quarter. Some substitution changes coming out on the field, one of which, number 82, Trent Christner, trots into the huddle. And Trent Christner, what a warrior he's been the last couple weeks after the high ankle sprain just a couple short weeks ago against Heritage Christian. We'll get more to that here in a minute. First, heavy set formation, man in motion, handoff left side's Taylor. Taylor is trying to find the ball now. It looked like Spencer, it was a quarterback keeper by Spencer.
Yep, Spencer kept it. It was a dive, motion up dive. He faked it to Brett Wethington and was able to keep it. And as you touched on earlier, I don't think Spencer does that 3 weeks ago, but he knows this is his final game as a senior, and I think you're going to see Spencer keeping the ball a little bit more and taking more chances.
Bowser and Stevenson, the two guys to bring him down for the short gain, and now we'll be set up after the first quarter comes to a conclusion. 0's on the clock, 7-0 your score on the 30-yard line. We're coming out with a 1st and 10 here in just a moment as we step aside and take a break into our next commercial break, and be back here shortly on WBTV Sports.
Why all the love? Why do we think you're number one?
Because as high school athletes, we know there is no us without you.
We know that when you buy a ticket to see an IHSAA game or meet, you're helping pay for new uniforms, safer equipment, or even a bus ride to the game.
But we also know what you're really saying is, I believe in you. I believe you could be somebody.
When you think about all of the opportunities your attendance at an IHSAA athletic event creates,
And the fact that you paid for your ticket,
well, fantastic doesn't begin to describe how we feel about you.
high school sports,
You pay,
we play.
everybody wins.
This message brought to you by the IHSAA, encouraging you to go to a high school game this week and help build a future that benefits us all.
A drive of 8 plays, 67 yards, and a little over 4 minutes time of possession as the Stars are mounting this one from the 3-yard lines where it started. Now we are down to the 30-yard line, Western Boone is. And after 25 yards of passing from Spencer Wright, 42 yards of rushing from the trio of Connor Hull, it was 4 of them actually. Spencer Wright got in on there, and of course the monstrous rushing attack of Brett Wethington and Robbie Taylor.
Yeah, it's what I talked about at the beginning of the drive is, the Stars are trying to flip the field. They've actually had some 90-yard drives this year, so I'm sure the aggressive feel that Coach Pelley and Coach Comer have that, they were thinking about worst case scenario. You want to get off the goal line, get a couple first downs, and flip the field. Well, they've done more than that. They're now on the Panther 30-yard line on the way in. With a new set of downs, 1st and 10 from the 30, up 7-0. First drive, the Stars were able to drive it down and score. Then they were able to stop the Panthers on their first drive. And now this is only the 3rd possession of the game, and the Stars are driving from their own 3-yard line and trying to look for a 97-yard score here.
Now we're talking a little bit about Trent Krishna earlier, and he had that high ankle sprain just a couple short weeks ago. And that Monday after the game, I went up and asked him. I was just joking with him. I said, "Hey, you playing at the game Friday?" And he says, "Yeah, I'm going to try." And with the high ankle sprain, still had a boot and crutches, and I just laughed at him, and he looked at me like he was serious. And sure enough, the week after, here he is, just 2 weeks after suffering that what looked to be worse than a high ankle sprain. He's back on the field now and making some key blocks for the Stars. Now going from left to right is Spencer Wright in the pistol spread formation. It'll look to be a handoff. He is stopped short for the first negative gain for the Stars, -1 yard, 2nd and 11 from now the 31-yard line of Eastbrook.
If I'm looking at it from a coaching standpoint up here, even when we go spread, the Panthers are bringing people. This would be a good time to perhaps hit some kind of middle pass to the tight end or middle pass to a back or something, but the middle of the field is open because they are sending linebackers.
Justin Starr, the defender who stopped Wethington in his tracks, now with that empty backfield, looking to pass to the near side screen. Connor Hull, he's got a couple guys in front of him. Connor Hull, he's gone 10-5 into the end zone. Connor Hull, rushing touchdown. Now we're receiving one off the screen, and he scores for the second one of the game for Western Boone. 13-0 is the score with 11 minutes and 16 seconds left in the second quarter from that 31-yard gain.
I was watching Jamie Comer, the offensive coordinator down there. He was really pumped about that play. It was trips right, and then the Connor Holt came out of the backfield to create 4 receivers on the right side, and basically it's just a quick pass with 3 receivers blocking. And the extra point is up and is good for the Stars to go up 14-0. But
way to cap off a 10-play, 97-yard drive that ate up 5 minutes of clock.
Yep, very impressive. And they did the same thing a couple weeks ago against Triton Central, where you think, oh gosh, the Stars are inside their 5-yard line, and they end up with like a 95-yard drive. and the same thing happens again here. And that's just a sign of a team that, has a lot of confidence in the coaches, have a lot of confidence in the players. The coaches have a lot of confidence in Spencer to make good decisions, and they're not just, going to run the ball 3 times and just try to punt it out of there. They're looking to score.
Now you wonder, one player was responsible for 4 touchdowns of Western Boone last year. Maybe Connor Hull's trying to cement that into his name as well. And you're talking about that Triton Central game, to where the Stars in the second half, they had the ball for 21 minutes of that second half, and they were just able to convert those third downs and really play ball control and keep the clock rolling. And here, that drive, that ate up 5 minutes, a lot less time, as they were able to go through the air and on the ground, as Connor Hull with a 31-yard touchdown reception.
And I think what the Stars are seeing there is that the Stars are going trips right. The Panthers are kind of just matching up with 2 to 3 guys over there where the trip side is. So you motion a 4th guy over there, and now you've got 4 offensive players over there and only 3, maybe 4 Panthers. And as long as you get some guys blocked, Connor Hull's going to probably make one guy miss, and he definitely did for a quick burst for the 31-yard touchdown.
Team still in their huddle, looking down on the clock right now. There's 11 minutes and 16 seconds left. Still plenty of time for Eastbrook to try to put together a couple scoring drives here in order to not go into that halftime down. Last year, like we mentioned, they went to halftime with the lead, and the Stars with that coaching advantage in the second half of the game here just a year and a week ago.
Yeah, again, if you're Eastbrook, you're down 2 scores, but if you can just mount some kind of drive here, get something on the board, because they deferred, they're going to get the ball to start the second half. So down 2 scores is not a major issue as long as you can mount some type of offensive momentum here and see if you can't get some kind of score on the board.
Binkert and Dalton, the 2 back to return. They're standing at the now 13-yard line here. Kicking is from left to right. This one bounces and is caught at the 20, at the 11-yard line. Now caught up the middle of the field, and the returner goes all the way up to the 44-yard line. And that looked to be number 22 of Eastbrook, Isaiah Dalton, with a big return there, and took it almost 30 yards right up the middle of the kick return defense of the Stars. And maybe Eastbrook can use that to their advantage as a bit more of a momentum shifter after struggling their last couple drives.
Yeah, we definitely don't have a great advantage up here for seeing numbers, but you could definitely see that hole open up from this angle.
Now with a couple more receivers than usual, is Eastbrook looking to run up the middle, swallowed up. He gets back to the line of scrimmage as Stevenson with a gain of none.
Coach Bruins called a linebacker blitz there, and Brett Wellington blitzed exactly where the ball was coming, and it's Eastbrook's going no huddle, quick offense again.
And the arm tackle by Wellington here, looking to rush the ball. Swallowed up again, this time Caleb Freeman and Luke Marsh. Marsh leading the team in tackles. They bring him down. Gain of 1, 3rd and 9. Now at the 44-yard line of their own. Eastbrook, they're in danger of another missed opportunity.
Yeah, they definitely cannot afford a 3 and out. That was another one of those wing T counter runs that the Stars did a great job with the front defensive line.
Extra lineman, 2 wide receivers looking to throw this one. He's got pressure. Is Bragg going to take this himself and is swallowed up to the 48-yard line? He gets a gain of 3 or 4, sets up 4th down and medium now near midfield, and he is brought down. Bragg looked to throw, and the play design looked to be a throw, a pass past the markers. Instead, he tucked it, and ill-advised as he only got a few yards, and
the punt
team is coming out.
Yeah, he got Luke Marsh to miss, but could not get Brett Wellington to miss.
Connor Hull back to receive the punt, standing at his own 19-yard line.
Probably given an extra few yards this time.
Here's the punter, almost blocked and received by Hull. Hull's got 3 guys in front of him, moves backwards, still moving, almost tripped up. He's now at the 20-yard line, juking around at the 25, and Connor Hull to the near side, stopped at the 26-yard line, and holy cow, this kid can play.
The general thought of a punt return is if you can just get as good a blocking as you can, and if the returner can get 1 guy to miss, good things happen. Well, Connor got 3 guys to miss right there on him and was able to get outside of him. It was a pretty exciting return of about 8 or 10 yards, but he is definitely exciting to watch when he gets the ball in his hands.
And he went and he juked about 3 or 4 guys out of their feet on 4 separate occasions.
Yeah, no media timeout this time, so the Stars are in their bunch formation with the strong formation, 2 tackles on the left side.
Robbie Taylor, the man in the backfield, man in motion's Baird. Handoff left side, Robbie Taylor. Taylor working with 3 or 4 yards, maybe gets out to a gain of 5. Will set up second down and medium at the 31-yard line, 2nd and 4.
I think Coach Pelley and Coach Comer are just running the ball enough up the middle and to see what the Panthers are doing, and they're stopping the middle pretty good right now, so I think you're going to see the pitch sweep to hole or some type of play action pass, or Spencer keeping it around the edge instead of trying to run up the middle.
2nd and 5 with 9 minutes left. Handoff to the left side. Quarterback keeper now to the near side and finally dropped. He only gets 3 or 4, enough to change the down to 3rd and 3, 3rd and maybe 2.
That is exactly what happened there. He pulled it, kept it, but the Panthers had great penetration from the point of attack on the offense's right side, and Spencer really didn't have much of a decision there. He kept it for a loss of about a yard or so, but he really didn't have much choice because the Panthers did a good job of collapsing the right side.
On the near hash mark, heavy set formation, wide receiver on the short side of the field. Jumping off a bit too early was the wing. Will be a quarterback keeper up the middle, trying to sneak this one for a couple yards. He only gets 1. It'll be 4th down and maybe just a couple inches.
Yeah, it's going to be 4th and less than a yard. That 3rd and 3, it was a long way to do a quarterback sneak up the middle, but that's what they chose to do there, and now it's 4th and 1. With the Stars doing such a great job of snap count here, you definitely got to look for a snap count change and then maybe a timeout, or they do have a play called perhaps and at least try to draw them off sides and then run something. But
from their own 35-yard line, here's noise from both crowds.
This is gutsy.
Heavy set formation, quarterback keeper up the middle, and he gets it, still moves forward right with a gain of 5 on the play meant for 1, and the Stars will move the chains an inch closer to midfield. They're at the 41-yard line.
Normally on a quarterback sneak up the middle like that, you'll see the quarterback just kind of lean on the lineman and fall down. Spencer somehow was able to keep his balance and almost broke that one after leaning on Casey Foster up the middle.
And you can tell that the coaching staff of Western Boone trying to get Spencer more involved, and he's almost played scared the last few weeks to where you haven't seen very many of those option plays, very many quarterback sneakers. Here is a spread formation in the pistol, handoff to the left side. Wethington lowers his shoulder, pushes forward for a few yards.
Yeah, I think Spencer has been playing the last month or so just not to get hurt and get back to this game right here. And now I don't think he cares. He's going to just come out there and do whatever it takes to win.
And like you mentioned, these guys are playing just like it's their last game, which it sure is. And it shows that, maybe if they get a little banged up and they're hurt for the next few weeks, they're not really worried about that. Basketball season is not on their minds right now, playing with 7 minutes left in the first half, second quarter of this game. Spread formation, 2 receivers at the bottom of the screen. Throws this one to the far side. It is dropped by Connor Garrity.
And as he comes at the corner did not back up much at all. So look for the Stars to do some type of stop-and-go route because the corner definitely was not backpedaling like he should have been there and was covering the 5-yard out. And just needs some type of stop-and-go, possibly to Stoudemire or maybe Connor Hull, but I have a feeling they're going to give Connor Hull a little more space.
3rd and 8 from the 43-yard line. Spread formation.
Stoudemire is at the bottom of the screen wide.
Looking to throw this one.
And
He's
he
got
across the middle.
Space
He's
to work with. Throws this one deep downfield. He's got a cut.
Oh, he dropped it. No, it is a catch.
They will as catch. Cortez Stoudemire to the far hash mark, 23-yard line, and Stoudemire with a huge reception and now moves the chains with plenty of room in what would have been a tough 3rd down conversion. They get this one far down after Spencer Wright was met with a little bit of pressure that wasn't even there. He kind of flushed himself out of the pocket and really nice catch.
I thought the official.
Cortez Stoudemire.
Yeah, I thought the official was saying incomplete, but he was waving to stop the clock after the first down catch. He kind of threw back against his body there. It's dangerous to do sometimes.
Hand off to the left side. Wethington with some space. Wethington, one guy to beat, stiff arms him, and now pushed out of bounds. He gets a first down to the 6-yard line. Brett Wethington could have broken that one if he wasn't pushed out of bounds by that last guy.
That was the first time the Stars were able to finally get the defense to collapse on the left side a little bit, and Wellington was able to take it right off tackle. The Panthers have done a pretty good job of not letting Wellington or Taylor get the edge off of the tackle on those runs.
Number 22, Isaiah Dalton, the man credited with pushing Wellington out of bounds. Now in the spread formation, 2 receivers at the far side, handoff up the middle. Robbie Taylor pushes forward to the 1-2-yard line. They will mark him down at the 2 and will set up 2nd and goal.
Well, it's just been a battle in the trenches in there. That there's times when the Panthers have did some type of run blitz and hit some gaps, but there's also times when the Stars' offensive line has been able to get some holes, and that time they moved the line of scrimmage approximately 3 yards. 2nd and goal from the 1.
Some extra linemen coming on. They're going to call a timeout.
Officials timeout for something here. Okay. Oh, they had to reset the game clock.
Heavy set formation, a lot of extra linemen on the field. Robbie Taylor, the man in the backfield, look for him to get it. Man in motion, handoff, Taylor to the far side. He pushes in, touchdown, Western Boone, their 3rd straight touchdown of the game, and they've scored as many points already as Eastbrook had all of last year's state championship game, 20-0, and Robbie Taylor with his signature 2-yard touchdown rush right up the middle.
From a Panther standpoint, it's just so hard to figure out what you need to stop. And the Star offense is just so versatile with running and passing and up the middle and sweeps. It's just hard to focus on one thing.
Here's the PAT by Jake Taylor. Snapper Luke Marsh, holder Reese Durbin. The snap is up, kick through, and that's good. 21-0. The Stars shooting out to a huge lead to start this one off. And this game looking like every other game the Stars have played as of late.
Yeah, it's something I wanted to mention. I was talking to Coach Pelley about this a few weeks, or actually a couple months ago. As a head coach, some head coaches in high school, you're either the offensive or defensive coordinator. And Pelley jokingly told me that about 3 or 4 years ago, when we went up, the Stars went up to Frankfort and scored 6 points against a Frankfort defense, is when Coach Pelley decided that he was going to turn the reins over to somebody else, and that's when he turned the reins over to Jamie Comer. Now, it's still the head coach, decides when to go for it, when to do this, and obviously can give Coach Comer suggestions of, hey, I think a pass might be open. But I think after 2 or 3 years of this, I think he has full confidence in Jamie Comer's decisions, and it's still up to the head coach to decide, the important aspects of the ball, when to punt, when to do things like that. But Coach Pelley has just basically become a quality head coach where he just oversees everything, and he still sets the atmosphere of the team and the team bonding that this team has. And the coaching staff's got to be pleased right now, up 21-0 at the 5-minute mark in the second quarter.
Now, he said something to me last year, Coach Pelley did, that's really resonated with me. He said his job as the head coach of the Western Moon Stars is to make sure everybody gets on the bus. That's what he says, is summing it up, is that he's got so many all of the normal head coach roles he's got delegated to his coordinators, to where all he does is just sit back. He makes those really important decisions. He sets the player atmosphere and everything, but he told me he's just got to get his players on the bus at the end of the day. And he'll joke with me every now and then about that, that's just something that's really stuck with me, is how Coach Pelley operates, is that he gives all his credit. The last 2 seasons, he gives all the credit to his coordinators.
Yeah, he's definitely downplaying that a little too much, probably being a little too modest there. That's how it is in professional. Like, I guess with the Colts, Frank Reich is the offensive coordinator, but and many times the head coach is just the guy who's setting the atmosphere, obviously hiring the coaches, but he's setting the game plans, and he's still doing a lot more than what he's given himself credit for, obviously. But this team definitely has a great atmosphere, great team bonding, and but he definitely trusts Coach Bruins and Coach Comer with their coordinating duties.
Spencer Wright almost with 100 yards passing already. He threw for 330 last year. Here's the kickoff. This one bounces around, caught at the 11-yard line, now picked up by Dalton up the middle of the sideline, and goes through the middle of the field to the 36-yard line. The exact same run as last time, except about 10 yards shy of where he was, and now Eastbrook will start at the 31, 32-yard line.
A lot of teams will want to, you've got basically return right, return left, or return middle, and it appears Eastbrook prefers a return middle because they're trying to wedge it right up through there.
And now the heavy set formation, wing team, man in motions. Dalton looking to pass, throws this one deep downfield and batted down by Spencer Wright. What a play. Would have been a 10-yard gain to move the chains. Instead, Wright gets his head in there, knocks down the pass, and 2nd and 10 we go.
A couple of adjustments Eastbrook's going to have to make here is I'm not sure if you want to go to a passing offense yet. But, that's what a 21-0 deficit might cause you to do is get you out of your rhythm.
Now they had a guy wide open in the shallow end. First, here's the misdirection run up the middle, gets 3 or 4 yards, make that 5 or 6. But on that last play, they had a wing open on the bubble screen, and he could have gotten every bit of that 10 yards. And instead, he tries to go for the little bit bigger shot, and it doesn't pay off.
Yeah, and Spencer made a great play to deflect that. We got 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5. Timeout Stars.
That'll be their second timeout of this one, and with 5:09 left in the first half, the Stars dominating every facet of the game. We'll move on and head into our commercial break and be back with you shortly.
If you bought a ticket to an IHSAA athletic event last weekend, give yourself a giant pat on the back.
You helped ensure our school has the resources it needs to support our athletic program.
You might have even punched somebody's ticket to a better life.
Yeah, like mine.
So give yourself a big high five.
Yeah.
And thank you.
High school sports.
You pay.
We play.
Everybody wins.
That's right.
This message brought to you by the IHSAA.
Now we're back here at Lucas Oil Stadium. 21-0 is the score. And, Coach, Eastbrook, what do they have to do to get back into the rhythm here?
Yeah, it's kind of a fine line. You feel like you're down 21-0. Passing is not their thing, not their strength. And as a coach, you're kind of wondering, hey, do we need to open it up a little bit? But I think if they just maintain their offensive composure, just get 7 points on the board, you get the ball to start the half, you might be 21-14.
Bragg with the
option right.
He's going to keep this one and gets the first down and more off of the really nice gain there. Past midfield to the 48-yard line of Western Boone.
Yeah, I think when they came out throwing on that first down play last time, I thought maybe that's what they were doing, but it looks like maybe they were just trying to loosen the Stars defense up a little bit, and they've still run the ball twice since then.
Here's a misdirection handoff to Binkert, the wing, who gets forward for a surge of 5 yards.
The Panthers are starting to get a little more rhythm now. Maybe that first down pass did just open things up, and now they've had 3 decent runs since then. 2nd and 5 at the 4.5-minute mark in the half.
Heavy set formation, wing T, handoff, quarterback keeper. He's brought down for a sack. Josh Benson brings him down behind the line of scrimmage, a loss of about 3 yards, and will set up 3rd and 7.
Perfect example where the tackles took the dive man. Josh Benson did his job of taking the quarterback and didn't get fooled and tackled the quarterback for a loss.
Here's another handoff.
That's a
far side and brought down for a loss. And he gets back to the line of scrimmage, 0-yard gain, and that'll set up 4th down and about 7, 8 yards.
That was definitely a busted play. I couldn't tell if it was the quarterback that went the wrong way or several backs. Usually when one guy goes the wrong way, it's probably his fault.
Going forward is Eastbrook. Trips formation to the near side, looking to throw this one under heavy pressure. He gets out of it. He's got room to the far side. Now at the 40-yard line, he'll have to dive for it. Reaches across. And does he get it? We'll take a look at the spot. It looks like they gave him the first down.
I think they're giving it to him. He did a good job of reaching. Looked like he had it easily, plus a lot more yards, but Luke Marsh's speed was able to close the gap and make it close, but it is a first down. And Caleb Freeman busted through his block and had the quarterback around the ankles, but he was able to break loose and end up with the first down.
Heavy set formation, handoff, left side. Stevenson surges forward. He only gets 1 or 2 yards. And will now set up 2nd down and long from the 36.
And this is what Eastbrook needs, just something to get a little momentum, something to get a little bit of positive atmosphere in the locker room at halftime.
Hurry up offense, much needed now. Handoff to Binkert to the left side, pushes forward, and he is stopped just short of the first down line. At the 29-yard line, we'll see 3rd and 1.
Yep. And now they're starting to get that counter T play running a little bit better, getting some holes.
Man in motion's Dalton. Quarterback option to the near side, tosses it out to Dalton. Dalton stopped in his tracks by number 7, Spencer Wright, who's been making plays on offense and, more impressively, on defense. And there we'll see now a 4th down and short.
Yeah, I thought he had it, but I think they're marking him a couple inches short. Another perfect example again of the end is taking the quarterback and the corner has the pitch man. They're going forward on 4th and inches.
Be a toss, quarterback option. Does he get it? Pushes forward, and he will get it. A gain of just 1. That's all he needed. And Dalton, or Bragg, that is, does it all himself.
I'm not a big fan of running sideways on 4th and inches, and he's running right down the line of scrimmage, but was able to just find a crack in the defense to get a yard out of it.
Hurry up, here we go. And they will call an official's timeout. We'll see what the commotion is.
I think it's a shoulder pad uniform issue, so it's an official's timeout and ready to get going again.
Here we go, 2:29 left. They're at the 27-yard line. 1st and 10 is Eastbrook. That'll be a handoff to Dalton. That is for a gain of just 1.
Yep. Stars did a little run blitz right there with Brett Wethington and was able to clog some gaps there, and Panthers only got 1 yard out of it.
Here's Eastbrook. The noise starting to accumulate here. This is a toss out to the near side. He will be brought down just barely. Guess who? Spencer Wright on defense. And that only results in a gain of 1, maybe 2 yards. 3rd and 7 coming up.
I think Spencer did a good job of busting through 2 blocks. He split 2 blocks here. Okay, just 1 block, I guess. And the guy pulling just basically chose not to block him, it looked like.
Big 3rd down right here. Looking to pass with pressure. Bragg flushed out, throws this one, and way out of bounds it goes. And here we go, 4th down and long for Eastbrook.
Looks like you had pressure from Freeman, and looks like Caleb Iron and putting pressure on the quarterback, and he didn't really have a time to look downfield.
If they wanted to kick, it is an option. I saw their kicker warming up from around the 25, 30-yard line earlier. Instead, they're going to go for it. A couple more wide receivers than usual. Still heavy set. Stevenson in the back looking to pass as Bragg throws this one. He's got a guy open. It's intercepted. Now down he will go. Being chased by one person at the 50. Now at the 40. Now down to the 30. Austin Bowman intercepts that one almost to the house, but chased down just barely. And now the Stars will be set up with 1:23 left before the half. The man who brought him down is shaken up. Number 21, Binkert, does a nice job chasing him down. And for Bowman, in that situation, a lot of defensive backs just want to swat that one down. It was 4th down. Instead, he took it, and he almost brought it back to the house.
Well, I'll tell you, it was a major momentum swing because that ball went right through the Panthers receiver's hands. It would have been a 1st down. Instead, it goes right through his hands, just pops up in the air, and it was a freebie for Bowman to grab there. But that is a massive momentum switch when you have a chance to get a 1st down inside the 20. Instead, it goes through the receiver's hands, and it's a interception all the way back to the 30.
Hurry up, handoff up the middle is Wethington. Wethington pushes forward for 3 yards, and Austin Bowman had an interception return of 52 yards, and what very well could have been 70-plus.
That was Taylor that time. Looks like they're giving Wethington a rest on this series of downs. And the Stars are still looking to score. The minute to go, up 21-0.
150 yards of offense. Looking to throw is Wright. Spencer Wright throws this one to the sideline and almost open. That is good enough for a 1st down. The catch by Garrity, and he was just about a foot away from racing down the sideline. Just barely steps out of bounds.
A little bit of a scary throw there because it's just a quick little 5-yard out, but the key is the corner is not giving any. And it looked like the corner had a chance to step in there. I still think we're setting up a chance for the Stars to have an out and up or just a stop-and-go route with someone to the outside. This time it's Stoudemire by himself over there.
From the 19-yard line in their own red zone, trips receivers to the near side. Looking to throw to the far side. This one's caught on the slant by Stoudemire, and Stoudemire gets a gain of 11 yards, moves the chains again, and with 52 seconds left, the Stars threatening to go up by 4 touchdowns.
I think the Stars only have 1 timeout left, but plenty of time, obviously, from the 8-yard line with 40-some seconds to go and 1 timeout.
Clock at 43 and rolling.
Even
Spread formation. Robbie Taylor, the man in the backfield, he gets the handoff up the middle. Taylor gets about half the distance, now to the 4 or 5 yard line of Eastbrook.
We're not going to use our timeout. We're going to spread it, and we're still going to run a play.
28 seconds. Hurry up offense. Spread formation. 2 receivers each side. Handoff goes to Taylor. Taylor inches forward to the 2 yard line, and with 20 seconds left, the timeout will be called by Coach Pelly and the Stars as their offense now set up at the 2. And Robbie Taylor, I'm sure, won't have a whole lot of trouble running it in from that 2 yard line. But first, we'll take what will likely be one of our final timeouts called in this first half and be back in just a moment on WBTV Sports.
If you bought a ticket to an IHSAA athletic event last weekend, give yourself a giant pat on the back.
You helped ensure our school has the resources it needs to support our athletic program.
You might have even punched somebody's ticket to a better life.
Yeah, like mine.
So give yourself a big high five.
Yeah.
And thank you.
High school sports.
You pay.
We play.
Everybody wins.
That's right.
This message brought to you by the IHSAA.
And now we're back here at Lucas Oil Stadium for WBTV Sports. I'm Nathaniel Finch, joined here by Coach Smith. And the Stars, they're 2 yards away from going up by 4 touchdowns. 3rd and 2, though, with 20 seconds left. Plenty of time to run a rush up the middle is what my guess would be. What do you think, Coach?
It would be risky. If you don't get in, it would be tough to maybe get it spiked in time. But probably going to be a fake up the middle where Spencer gets to keep it. He pulls it from the running back, and he'll be running down the line of scrimmage with an option of either running it or maybe a little dink pass to someone on the outside.
And keep your ear open for Connor Hull. He's already had 2 touchdowns, and we'll see what he does here. Spencer Wright in the pistol formation. Robbie Taylor man in the backfield looking to go to the near side. Will he be sacked? Spencer Wright still moving now to the near side. The 11-yard line, throws it to the end zone. Up, jump ball.
Intercepted.
It is intercepted by Eastbrook.
Yep, they definitely flushed him out. He chased him all the way back to about the 15-yard line, and everybody's coming to the same corner of the end zone he is. And the ball got tipped before it got to Connor. And basically it's a tip drill that you practice all the time. Eastbrook just tipped it, and another guy was able to get it before it hit the ground.
Braxton Bowser was in the right place at the right time as the ball was tipped right into his lap. And now Eastbrook will be set up at the 20-yard line, and crisis averted. Now they have 11 seconds to try to get something going, but likely going to do just a kneel down. Sure enough, in the kneel formation, Bragg, knee to the dirt, and we will head into halftime. Western Boone up 21-0, almost 28-0, but instead the defense for Eastbrook holds up, and you'll never guess who Spencer Wright was targeting on that play.
Yeah, maybe got a little too aggressive there. Spencer's talking to Coach Comer right now, and I think if Spencer had that over again, he would just throw that out of bounds, and you're still 4th and 2 with 11 seconds to go, but got a little too aggressive there perhaps, and a little bit of a momentum killer going into half, but then as you walk off the field, just got to remember you're up 21-0. But from an Eastbrook standpoint, you dodged a bullet there. 28-0 would have been very difficult to come back from, but 21-0 with the ball to start the half is still doable.
And Connor Hull was a pair of hands in front of him from scoring his 3rd touchdown of the game, but instead the Stars will head into that 21-0 halftime lead, and I'm sure Coach Pelly will remind everyone what happened in Week 2 against Western when they had a big halftime lead. Keep their composure. Eastbrook will receive the second half kickoff, and it's going to be important for the Stars to still hold up and maybe do what they did against Triton Central a week ago, to where they start chewing out a lot of the second half clock, but first they have to get that first stop.
Yeah, just several examples you hit on there is, one, that's where the Western game, even though it's a loss, gives you something you can look back on and remind the guys. If you go 14-0 and you're blowing everybody out, you never really have that to fall back on, but he can remind them, hey, we're in the same position at Western. We didn't finish them off. And you can also flip it and say last year in the state finals, we were the team that was down and came out in the second half and was able to take care of it. So Pelly's got some things, like you said, to draw on to try to keep the guys motivated. Eastbrook, again, even though they turned the ball over in that last drive, that was the first drive where they actually moved the ball. Several first downs, got some momentum going, so at least they know going into half there's some things they can run. They were starting to get that motion counter, that wing counter to run a little bit more for them. at least they have some things they know that they can get accomplished. But to get that interception at the end and not go down 28-0 was pretty big for them right now morally in the locker room.
Yeah, we'll be back here. We've got 15 minutes of halftime, so see what Coach Jeff Adamson can do. He's won 280 games, and I'm sure he knows what he's doing here. Of course, down by 3 touchdowns still. Plenty of adjustments to make, and he's a good enough coach to overcome this. We'll be back here in just a few moments on WBTV Sports.
Believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Indiana. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It begins by making their grades and being on time for practice. It includes learning to listen, following directions, accepting responsibility, being a good role model. And it's about respect for officials, opponents, the rules, and each other. The result? It transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. High school sports. There's so much more than just a game. This message presented by the Indiana High School Athletic Association and the Indiana Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association. It may not require a textbook, but it's filled with valuable lessons. It may not take place in a classroom, but it's an ideal environment for learning. It may not involve a diploma, but it can help prepare Indiana's young people for life. It's high school sports. High school sports can play a critical role in a student's overall education. In fact, studies show that students that participate in high school sports are more likely to enjoy greater levels of achievement in their academic lives. If you think high school sports are only about competition, think again. Better yet, think about attending a high school sporting event in your community. You'll be amazed by what you see. High school sports, a winning part of a complete education. This message presented by the Indiana High School Athletic Association and the Indiana Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
What do basketball, choir, drama club, and marching band all have in common? They're all high school activities that offer learning opportunities not necessarily found in the classroom. They take up just a fraction of a typical Indiana high school's budget, and they go a long way to giving young people the tools they need to thrive. High school activities, they're more than extracurricular. They're extra important, too. This message presented by the Indiana High School Athletic Association and the Indiana Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
This is what matters. This is beyond X's and O's. This is the difference mutual respect makes. This is what character looks like. This is what defines us in Indiana. This is sportsmanship. School sports, it's not the outcome that matters most, but the way the games are played. This message presented by the Indiana High School Athletic Association and the Indiana Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
It's the geometry teacher who mans the ticket window.
It's the kid in grade school who paints her face blue and white before every home game.
It's the accountants and salesmen and store managers who give up their Friday evenings to referee.
It's the graduate who listens to the league championship game on the internet.
It's the parent who sells ads in the school athletic program.
It's the cashier at the corner convenience store who wears school colors on every game day.
It's the trainers, equipment managers, and ball boys who never miss a practice.
What makes high school sports here in Indiana so special? They do.
You do.
We all do.
High school sports. It's the we that every community needs. This message presented by the Indiana High School Athletic Association and the Indiana Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
I loved playing high school sports. I loved the competition, the camaraderie, the bands, the crowds, all the pageantry, and I wanted to keep playing. But I graduated. No colleges called, and neither did the pros. So, to stay close to the game I loved, I decided to become a high school official. You know, a referee. When I played high school sports, I learned the importance of integrity, good sportsmanship, and respect for the rules. Now, as a high school official, I get to help model these same values to others. Maybe the colleges and the pros didn't call, but the kids in Indiana did. And now, I'm enjoying the competition, the camaraderie, the bands, the crowds, and all the pageantry of high school sports all over again.
Interested in becoming a licensed high school official? Go to highschoolofficials.com to learn more and begin the application process.
Hey, honey, is this your course schedule for the fall?
Yep.
Let me see here. English, good. Chemistry, trigonometry, excellent. World history, oh, I love world history. Baseball? Wait, baseball? Baseball isn't a course, honey.
Well, sure it is, Mom. High school sports are about so much more than winning and losing. They teach lessons that can't be taught in a classroom, like accountability and self-discipline, the value of teamwork. I may not be earning a grade, but I'm learning how to compete later in life. Isn't that what getting a good education is all about?
Yes, of course it is. I was just testing you.
What can teenagers here in Indiana learn from participating in high school sports? Plenty, as it turns out. That's why they're called education-based athletics.
High school sports. There's so much more than just a game.
This message presented by the Indiana High School Athletic Association and the Indiana Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
If you bought a ticket to an IHSAA athletic event last weekend, give yourself a giant pat on the back.
You helped ensure our school has the resources it needs to support our athletic program.
You might have even punched somebody's ticket to a better life.
Yeah, like mine.
So give yourself a big high five.
Yeah!
And thank you.
High school sports.
You pay.
We play.
Everybody wins.
That's right.
This message brought to you by the IHSAA.
Listen up, high school sports fans. This cheer's for you.
You're number one! You're number one!
Why all the love? Why do we think you're number one?
Because as high school athletes, we know there is no us without you.
We know that when you buy a ticket to see an IHSAA game or meet, you're helping pay for new uniforms, safer equipment, or even a bus ride to the game.
But we also know what you're really saying is, I believe in you. I believe you could be somebody.
When you think about all of the opportunities your attendance at an IHSAA athletic event creates,
And the fact that you paid for your ticket,
well, fantastic doesn't begin to describe how we feel about you.
high school sports,
You pay,
we play.
everybody wins.
This message brought to you by the IHSAA, encouraging you to go to a high school game this week and help build a future that benefits us all.
Welcome back here to our game today. The Stars, they're up 21-0. There's 6 minutes left before we head back onto the field. But for a while, we'll talk a little bit about how the first half went. And it started where the Stars, they were able to come out on their first drive. They went the distance of, around 70, 60 yards, and they were able to score that touchdown with the rush, the 8-yard rush, the toss out to the far side with Connor Hull. Then when they went their next drive, they had gotten all the way down to give Robbie Taylor his chance for the 2-yard rushing touchdown, and Connor Hull also saw a touchdown of 31 yards later in that half where the Stars, they went up 21-0, and then that wasn't it. Eastbrook, they started moving the ball down. They were intercepted by Austin Bowman, who almost brought it back to the house. Instead, he goes down around the 20-yard line, and the Stars move it down to the 2. At the 2-yard line, they got some thinking to do. They got 20 seconds left, Coach.
Yeah, and it's borderline whether or not, 4th and 2, you might be able to score on a run. But if you don't, the defense is a little slow getting off the pile, and you might not even get a chance for a fourth down. So I think the play call was the right thing to do, a rollout pass, give Spencer an option to run or pass, but the defense was just able to make Spencer scramble a little more than he wanted to. And looking back, Spencer probably wishes he would have thrown that out of the back of the end zone and lived another day and had a 4th and goal from the 2, either kicked the field goal or had one more chance to score in that situation. But it gave Eastbrook a little bit of hope, a little bit of momentum at halftime. You going down 28-0 on a score with 10 seconds to go would have been pretty demoralizing. But this way here, they've got something they can build on. Like you said, in their last time they had the ball, they did sustain a little bit of a drive before the interception. They were able to stop the Stars right before the half. So at least there are some positive vibes you can get from the Panther locker room, and they get the ball to start the half.
Yeah, and you got to think that from what we saw the first half, who says that Robbie Taylor wouldn't have been able to go for 2 yards? Who says Spencer Wright wouldn't have been able to do a 2-yard sneak? And every time the Stars have gone for those up-the-middle plays, they've gone 4, 5, 6 yards. So I think that even we're pondering what would have happened if they didn't get the 2-yard gain. But how hard is it for the Stars team, the way they've been playing, the way that their line has been imposing the will up front? Who says they wouldn't have been able to score that anyway?
Yeah, it's a tough call. That's what coaches have to go through, is they have to, kind of figure out, what's our best situation, and they chose to put it in Spencer's hands there. And really what, hurt the play was the fact that the Panthers were able to collapse the right side of the line and had Spencer bow back, and therefore now none of the pass routes are really legit pass routes. It's just scramble mode at that point. And, Eastbrook made a good play. They kept people covered, and they just tipped it up enough for a defender to get it. And it'll be interesting to see what comes out if they come out and just if the Panthers continue to try to run the ball and just mix in a few passes, or if they're going to try to open it up a little bit.
Coach, let's look at some stats. Spencer Wright, the quarterback, 7 for 9, 116 yards through the air, touchdown. He did throw that interception late. As for rushing, Spencer leads the team right now in rushing yards. 8 attempts, 56 yards, including that long 22-yard scamper. As for Brett Wethington, the starting running back today, he leads the team in carries, 10 carries. He's got 54 yards, 2 shy of Spencer's numbers. And, of course, 5.4 yards per carry there. Robbie Taylor has been grinding out a little bit short yardages. He's got 8 carries, 30 yards, and a touchdown. And that would have been my candidate for that 2-yard play to end the half, would have been to give it up to Robbie Taylor and let him power forward. Now, between Wellington and Taylor, Coach, we're likely going to see Taylor a little bit more on offense for the second half, and he's the guy that's handled most of the duties the last couple of weeks, with Wellington focusing more on defense, trying to nurse his hamstring. And I feel like we're going to see Robbie Taylor a bit more. He needs to get over that hump of 3.8 yards per carry and get it closer to Wellington's 5.4.
Yeah, just to give you an idea, though, Robbie's 3.8 is still better than Eastbrook's 2.4. That kind of sums up the game. You got Spencer Wright with a 7-yard average, Wellington with a 5-yard average, Connor Hull with one run of 8 yards.
And
you're averaging, and a touchdown. You're averaging 5.5 versus Eastbrook's 2.4. At that rate, every 2 downs we're getting a first down, and when you're averaging that. But it's just been good balance for the Stars. They got, 116 through the air and 148 on the ground, and that's it's tough to defend when you've got that many different athletes on the field and you've got a quarterback that can both throw and run. Eastbrook, on the other hand, has 74 total yards with 13 through the air and 61 on the ground. And that kind of sums up, just ball control, like you mentioned. I think mentioned during a timeout, I think, that the Stars had the ball one time for 21 minutes against a team earlier this year of a half, 21 minutes of a 24-minute half, and that's kind of what's happened here, is just the Stars have kept control of the game with their offense.
Yeah, the time of possession, the Stars, they've got over 5 minutes more than what Eastbrook has had. And as for the receiving end for the Stars, you've seen 3 targets go to the name of Connor Hull. He's got all 3 of those, 56 yards receiving in that touchdown. Stoudemire also with 3 targets. He's got 3 receptions, 53 yards, no touchdown. Those 2 guys have been playing a very similar way. Both of them have a long gain of over 20 yards. and over 30 yards, that is. And then the third receiver for Western Boone, Connor Garrity, he's had 2 targets, 1 reception, 7 yards on that quick out that he almost took all the way to the house. That's something that last drive that ended in the interception. There are multiple plays that the Stars almost took to the end zone, and that's really a credit to Eastbrook's defense holding them strong. And even though they gave up quite a few yards on that last drive, they did not let the big plays happen. That's something the Stars have done all game. 21 points because of big plays throughout the game. And on that last drive, Eastbrook, after they gave up the interception, their defense held strong, and they bailed out the offense.
Yeah, first a hustle play to catch Bowman from behind when it looked like there was a chance he could go, and then, again, just making a couple of good defensive plays there in the last 40 seconds of the half to keep the score at 21-0.
So, of course, we're at Lucas Oil Stadium where 6 state championship games will be played, 3 yesterday and 3 today. Yesterday, we saw the 1A Lafayette Central Catholic defeat 1A Indianapolis Lutheran 29-28. That resulted in a 2-point conversion for the win with 10 seconds left, and really a gutsy call there by LCC. Rather than taking the field goal and going to overtime, they went for the 2-point conversion. Would have either won the game or lost the game. But you hear coaches all the time, Frank Reich, such as last year, where they said they're not playing to tie. They're not playing to end in the tie. They're playing to end in the win. So going for that gutsy call, it paid off for LCC.
I've always felt like in that situation, when you've already got 6 state championships, it's not as gutsy. When you've already got 6 or 7 trophies at home, you can take a gamble like that. But I have a feeling if they had not won a state championship before, it would have been a little more difficult decision for the coach probably.
Now you talk about those state championships they already have piled up. Next for 3A is Bishop Chatard, who has the record for the most state titles in IHSAA history. Is that around 13 or 14?
13 or 14.
That's
it's
right.
something crazy.
So they won with a score of 34-3.
Yeah, I watched the first quarter of that game when it was already 21-0, I think, before the end of the first quarter, and they pretty much had control of that game early.
Well, let's hope that Eastbrook puts up a better fight than Heritage Hills, who only scored 3 points in that one. And finally, the final game of the evening, late at night, where New Palestine defeated Valparaiso 27-20. New Pal won that game after their quarterback of the first half went down with an injury, and their backup quarterback had to come in and finish out the game.
I was not able to watch that game, but I know New Pal is on some kind of run here the last 4 or 5 years. They've been moving up in class and keep winning, and it's just a great culture they've got going over there at New Pal right now.
Yeah, Charlie Spiegel finishes off his career far and away the leading rusher in the state of Indiana, not just in that 5A class, but in the whole state. And really, you look at the schedule for New Pal, and they're not playing all these 6A schools. So people would say that maybe they're the best team in the state, but you don't really have a way to tell because they don't play a whole lot of 6A teams, if any. But there's still a dominant run the last few years, and Charlie Spiegel will graduate and move on to better things. But what a career he's had as the Dragons running back.
And I just want to remind people again to make a correction. I said a couple weeks ago when I said that the Stars would be moving up to 3A, that the success factor is only every 2 years during a realignment. If not, Eastbrook would have already moved up because they went state finals, sectional, state finals. But because of the way the 2 years goes, even Eastbrook with back-to-back state final appearances won't be moving up next year because the realignment happened this year. And now if either one of these two teams wins a regional next year, that would give them enough points to move up the following year. So both of these teams are in 2A next year, and who knows, you might see them again.
Here's the kick by Hayden Woodruff. Kicks this one deep into enemy territory at the 5-yard line is when it's recovered by the returner Binkert. Make that Dalton, who is walloped and brought to the ground at the 15, 16-yard line. And for his second big hit of the game, looks to be
Mitch
that
Miller.
one, number 40, Austin Litton, flying down there and takes out the return man. What a big hit was that by Litton.
Litton is pumped. He came off the side, looked like he was the gunner from the right side, and he picked the right angle to cut in and was able to take the guy down at the 16-yard line.
What a hard-hitting guy. He's played a big role for this team. Now for Eastbrook, the rush up the middle, gains 5 or 6 yards, make that 4, and we'll see 2nd and 6 coming up at the 21-yard line of Eastbrook.
And they're going no huddle again after a quick dive up the middle.
2 wide receivers set to the far side. Ball in the middle of the field. Hand off to the left side. Stop.
Fumble.
The ball
It's
is
returned.
out. Picked up. And the Stars recover the fumble at the 12-yard line.
Freeman's the one ended up grabbing it. He and Stoudemire are joking around right now because I believe Stoudemire is the one that tackled him. They tripped up each other. If not, I think Freeman might have had himself a fumble recovery for a touchdown.
Yeah, it looks like Clayton Heissong's helmet knocked out the ball, and that was when the ball was scooped up. And there you go, looking at the big screen, it was Stoudemire who throws his hands up knowing he just let Freeman go to the ground.
Caleb's going to be on him about that for quite a while.
Knowing Caleb, he sure will be. You saw him throw his hands up.
Stars ball on the 11-yard line.
Heavy set formation, handoff to the sweep out to the far side. Now at the 5-yard line, 6 is Baird, who drops down, number 22, Casey Baird, off that option play. And like we said, we've seen a lot more option plays from Spencer Wright as we have in the past.
Yep, the past 3, 4, 5 weeks, it's just been hand the ball off to Taylor, hand the ball off to Wellington, hand the ball off to Taylor. But today he's pulling it a lot more and either keeping it or, in this case, pitching it in a true option, old-fashioned option there.
Something that I've seen Spencer run his whole life, and here finally starting to go back to what made him so successful the last few years after taking a back seat this year. Here's the toss out to the far side is, guess who? Connor Hull. He gets all the way down to the goal line at the 1-inch line before he's brought down.
That's going to hurt his touchdown per carry ratio. That got him to they're inside the 1, possibly about the foot line.
Casey Baird comes in a substitution, and out goes, looks like Cole.
Could be with it being less than a yard. I could see Spencer keeping this one unless he wants to give someone a stat for a touchdown in the state finals.
Robbie Taylor, the heavy setback, handoff Taylor. No, is it a quarterback keeper? It's in for a touchdown no matter who it was.
It's a deal where
Robbie Taylor carries it for the 4th touchdown of the game for the Stars. And after holding Eastbrook to 0 points so far through the game, the Stars go up 27-0.
For those not watching on TV and just listening to us, it was hard to decide because Spencer left it in his gut so long we couldn't tell if it was going to be a Taylor touchdown or a Spencer touchdown, but it does go to Taylor.
Here's the PAT by Jake Taylor, but after Robbie Taylor had the ball moved up into the goal line, he was stopped, and Spencer Wright lunged forward and pushed him in the rest of the way. That's where the confusion came from my side, is because it looked like it was a fake to Taylor, and then he ran himself. Instead, he pushed in his running back in this physical style of play I love watching from Spencer Wright, something that I've missed the last few games as Spencer's been more of let's not get injured and get to the state game. Now he's at the state game. Now he's giving up his physicality a bit more and sticking his neck out there a bit more, like what we saw more of last year where he was so successful.
Yeah, I think in the 3 sectional games in the regional and the semi-state, I think had it been a close game, I think you would have seen him do a little bit more on his own. But all year long, I feel like he's just deferred to people to try to keep himself healthy, try to give everyone a little more experience. So when you get in a state championship game like this, you're hard to defend because it hasn't just been him doing everything. It's been a little bit of everybody. And when you're going through the scouting report from Eastbrook during the week, you don't know who to stop.
Yeah, and Spencer's been such a team player this whole year. That drive, 3 plays, 12 yards in just over a minute. And Spencer just this whole year, like we've said, he's taken that back seat. He's let Wellington and Taylor run the ball most of the game, and he's let other guys get their names out there rather than him after he had such the dominant year last year, the 2A Player of the Year. Let's look at some records from Spencer. From Western Boone, he's broken every relevant passing record for Western Boone over his career. 724 passes attempted. This is all before the game. He's just piling on his records. So he has the record for passes attempted, passes completed, passing yards, almost 7,000. He is at the 7,000 mark here already. 82 touchdown passes. Now he is at 83. Completion percentage record, 62.7. This is his career numbers. Now he's already broken at Western Boone. He broke most of these before the year even began. These are records that will likely stay up there for a while, as dominant as he's been. Now, for the season records, last year, passes completed 145. That's a record tied with David McLean in 1988 when the Stars also went to the state championship and won that one there. Then he broke the record for passing yards in a season last year with 2,469. Touchdown passes, 31 last year. Completion percentage, 6% last year as well. And if he would have had the same amount of attempts this year as last year, those records would have been broken. It's just so astonishing how much he's taken that back seat and let the other guys come in. He's just as efficient, if not more efficient. That touchdown percentage that I showed you earlier, it just shows it's a credit to how much he's been unselfish in letting other guys get in there.
And like I said, and because of the team's better, though, at this point.
You're going to win a lot of games with Spencer Wright as your quarterback, and with these three-headed rushing attack of here's the
fake
kickoff
reverse.
Return, fake reverse as you mentioned, with some open field now at the 20-yard line is Baker, and finally brought down at the 22-yard line.
It's Litton
by
again.
Austin Litton, who's flying around and making plays. The senior playing in his final game at Western Boone and doesn't get a whole lot of playing time or pop, but when he's in, he is so fast and so physical, and Austin Litton makes another nice stop there.
It does look like he's going at a different speed out there. He's closing in on people that I would not expect him to have the close-in speed on, but he's been able to.
You know, sectional championship game against South Vermilion, Litton had that big 40-plus yard catch where he just flew down the field, and Wright said, heck, why not, and throws a lob up to him, and Litton comes down with it. Here's the first play. It was just a rush up the middle by Eastbrook.
Yeah, rush off the left tackle and was buried by Brett Wethington. And I think at 28-0 and the way the first couple plays around, they are going to have to open it up a little bit and get some passing.
So here's the rush up the middle again, and 2 straight rushes. That'll get him about 3 or 4 yards that time. We'll see third and about half the distance to go, 5 yards from the 28-yard line.
That was back to their little counter out of the wing. I expect some type of rollout pass here, probably looking for a running back in the flat.
Handoff, jet sweep, and he's brought down for a loss.
Benson.
Back to the original line of scrimmage is Josh Benson, and he watched his brother score 4 touchdowns in a game a year ago against Eastbrook, and this time he's trying to put his name out there and gets a really nice stop to force the 3-and-out. 4th down and 10. Here comes the punt team once again. And this Eastbrook team, they've gone to the state championship 3 of the last 4 years. Well, they've also broken the record for most punts in a game 2 of the last 3 years as well with 7. And here's another punt.
Yeah, it was a deal where they ran a jet sweep across the line of scrimmage and didn't block the defensive end, so Benson just stepped up there and got it.
Punt
Punts
goes
away.
Up. A really high punt, end over end. Fair catch. He was touched. Where's the flag? Nope. Connor Hull calls the fair catch. 44, 43-yard line is where it stopped.
I don't know if there's a stat for this online, but in the games I've watched, I don't think I've seen Connor Hull call for a fair catch very often. That was probably hard for him to do right there. He's so aggressive.
He didn't have much of a choice. He had a guy right in his face, and the guy was, well, not just on his face, but he looked like he touched him a bit. Here's now the Stars offense heading out onto the far hash mark with 8 minutes and 53 seconds left to go, up 4 touchdowns in the third quarter. Spread formation, Robbie Taylor, the man in the backfield. Handoff that looks to be Wethington. Still going to throw this one, and overthrown by the scrambling Spencer Wright. Connor Hull with his 4th target of the game, not able to catch that one. Incomplete, 2nd and 10. With a lot of open field near the near side, about 45-yard line, just overthrown ball by Spencer Wright. Didn't have a whole lot of options there.
That was a little bit more of an awkward option. They faked the dive. Spencer was running, and instead of pitching it, basically was about a 15-yard out pass like it was a pitch, but just overthrew him quite a bit.
Heavy set formation, handoff up the middle to Wethington. Wethington has room. He's at the midfield now, 45-40, finally brought down by 5 of Eastbrook's finest on defense to bring him down after he goes for a scamper of 15-plus yards.
That was kind of a backwards play where usually, you fake it to the fullback and everybody tackles him. That time he gave it to the fullback, but I think everyone assumed he didn't have it, and there wasn't a whole lot of defensive pressure coming to him until about 10 yards downfield. That's his 11th carry for 70 yards.
Pistol formation, quarterback keeper. He's got a guy in his face, is right, and he pitches this one out as he was being brought down. It will be counted as a reception, but of just maybe half a yard, and it keeps a sack off the score sheet as Spencer Wright just shovels that one out to his wide receiver.
Yeah, ended up going to Luke Marsh, but He in the NFL, they might have considered him down by contact. He had a lot of contact with him, was about to go down, just got rid of it. A little dangerous.
In the grasp. We saw that with the Texans and Colts game, the first matchup this year where Deshaun Watson was in the grasp. Right now we've got trips formation at the near hash mark. Tries to get someone off sides, and it will be. Looks to be a neutral zone infraction on the defense. Eastbrook might have just given up 5 free yards.
Looks like they got 2 guys on the left side to jump for the Panthers, and that's going to cut it from 2nd 9 to 2nd and 4. And Taylor's off. Wellington's back on. Oh, no, Connor's in the background.
Watch
Connor
out.
Hull's in the background.
Yeah, keep an eye out for the screen here. We've got trips receivers to the near side. Connor Hull is likely going to exit the backfield. Here he goes. Now in the pistol formation, standing almost in the shotgun. Spencer Wright, screen to Hull, as I said. Hull making some moves up front. He only gets a gain, maybe back to the line of scrimmage before forward progress brings him down. There's a flag on the play.
I think this time you and I both knew what was coming up here, but I think Eastbrook knew what was coming that time. They covered that much better than they did in the first half.
Yeah, and Connor Hull did about what he could have there. Not a whole lot he could have done there as he did slice forward.
And basically what that's setting up now that Eastbrook's done that is where you pump fake to Connor on that wide receiver screen, and then one of the 3 blockers just takes off down the field. I could see Spencer just doing a pump fake and then going deep to one of the 3 guys who are going to fake block and just take off. It was a pretty major penalty of 15 yards I didn't see.
It was a personal foul for unnecessary roughness. Brings Western Moon back to now the 49-yard line, 2nd and 20.
And this actually sets up perfectly what I was saying that they could do, with it being such a long down situation.
They're in the pistol formation spread, 2 receivers to each side. Garrity and Stoudemire at the near side. Backfield gets out of there. It's a screen to the far side. Hull with some blocking in front of him, and he's tripped up. Still gets a gain of 13 or 14. Connor Hull with a nice gain there to move and negate the penalty, and we'll set up 3rd down and medium, maybe 6 or 7 yards.
That's exactly what you wanted. Just make it a manageable 3rd down. It's going to be 3rd and 6. It was a fake screen to the left. He pump faked it, and then he threw it back as a wide receiver screen to the right. So they basically had a wide receiver screen going on both sides, faked it one way, threw it back to Connor the other way.
6.5 minutes, tight end. Everyone else is split up as wide receiver. Empty backfield. Spencer Wright in the pistol, looking to throw this one again. He's got a guy open downfield if he wants him. Instead, he'll go the other side. He'll tuck it and run it himself. He could still throw if he wants. He will throw. He's got a guy open, and it's caught. Connor Garrity makes the tackle, and he's in. Connor Garrity with a long touchdown after he breaks a tackle, slips past 3 others. Number 85, the junior wide receiver, big, tall guy out wide, gets the touchdown.
That's all Spencer Wright's legs right there. That, the linemen do a good job of blocking, but there's just no way you can expect a secondary to cover for that amount of time. And Spencer was just back there creating backyard football almost, and and found Connor wide open, and he was able to run it the last 15 yards.
And what a perfect throw by Spencer Wright as he gets that one out there. On the move, here's the PAT, and that one is a bad kick, goes shanked, and he misses his first one of the day. 34-0 is your score.
Yeah, the snap was a little high out to Durbin's right shoulder, and he wasn't able to get it back there in time, and it messed up the timing. But now that last touchdown all goes on Spencer Wright's legs. He started off in the pocket, rolled to the left, spun around back to the other side, almost got taken down once or twice, and kept the play alive. It looked like he was actually going to keep it and run for the first down, and then at the last second he was able to spot Garrity about 10 yards downfield for a wide open completion, and Garrity did the rest himself.
Credit his legs, credit his vision, credit his arm, and what an accurate pass on the run. There's not very many high school quarterbacks that can make such a pinpoint throw on the run after 5 or 6 seconds of being just running around with the ball tucked down under his arm. And there's the 37-yard pass to Connor Garrity, and the scoring drive goes for 57 yards on just 6 plays with 2 minutes and 42 seconds knocked off the clock. There's 6:11 right now left in the third. 34-0 left the scoreboard right now, and we are right now in a break as the media looks like Farmers Bureau Insurance getting their ad up there, so we'll squeeze in a few names here. Our sponsors this year: Wine Coop Accounting Services, very own Smith Tea Screen Printing, and Cochran's Catering and Cakes. I'd like to give a thank you to the Young family for helping support WBTV Sports, and as well as the tailgate that the Stars had outside of Gate 10 this morning. They've been out there since early in the morning, right when the sun came up, out there preparing the tailgate breakfast for everyone free of charge. And I know the Young family was pivotal on that, getting the funding out there as well.
Yeah, and I chose to help sponsor that too, and was over there I got there about 9 o'clock, and it was pretty busy. And then all of a sudden the fan bus, the cheerleaders and the band and everyone got there, and I'm not sure what the fire marshal would have had to say about it, because I think there was a few more people in the building. There probably should have been over there, but it was a good time. What's that?
That's when you made your way up to the booth, too.
Yes, yeah.
It got crowded.
It got a little too crowded in there for me, but great support from the community, and financial support for that was just incredible. But these kids definitely are deserving of it. To what looks like possibly go back-to-back is just something that's great for our community and great for the kids.
Hayden Woodruff, the kicker, number 53, the senior. He sends this one far to the 5-yard line. What a leg he has, and it's returned by the man Binkert, who cuts it up the middle, now tries to go back outside and brought down, this time less viciously, as he is eased onto the ground at the 21-yard line.
That time I think they figured out they need to block number 40, Linton, and they got him pretty good that time, but 2 other Stars were able to make the play.
Isaiah Dalton, the return man, there's 34-0 is your score with 6:05 left in the third, and here's this offense of Eastbrook. And a timeout called. We'll see if it's an official's timeout,
Yep.
and we'll see why.
Not
All
sure.
Right,
I didn't see anything. Still a tight formation by Eastbrook. Jet sweep.
T. Looking to pass this one. Nope. Bragg doesn't have a lot of options, and he's tripped down for the sack. A loss of 3 or 4 yards after the arm of his tackler is the only thing that brought him down. Didn't even get wrapped up. He just got shoved down.
Couldn't tell if that was going to be a screen. Usually in a screen you let the defense go, or if it was just the Stars being able to break through on their own.
Caleb Iron and Luke Marsh in the backfield. Iron was the one credited with a sack, and now sacked again, brought down for another loss. And holy
67.
cow, this defense.
Tyler Latham snuck right past the center and the guard and was able to make a tackle for a loss for about 3 or 4 yards. He just out-quicked the line.
Yeah, the rotation of this defensive line for Western Boone allows for guys like Latham to come in and make those plays.
Yeah, he's playing nose guard right now, just out-quick the center.
Here's the wing T formation, man in motions. Dalton handoff, misdirection to Binkert. Binkert to the near side, and will be upended near the middle of the field at the 20-yard line.
That's something you don't see too much anymore, and that is a great form tackle by Cortez Stoudemire. Instead of just hitting somebody, he wrapped him up around the legs. Perfect technique. Bringing up 4th and long and another punt.
Well, and you guys saw the tackle from Connor Hull last week against Triton Central, where he almost body slammed his tackler. Here's the punt. 2 guys back to receive. The kick is up. Connor Hull will be the one that will try to field it, and another fair catch called for, as these high punts are really working to Eastbrook's favor, limiting the big playability of Connor Hull when you force him to do the fair catch when he's got guys in his face.
Yep, definitely higher and shorter kicks, but the overall net punt average is the same when you make him fair catch it and don't give him a chance to run it back. Looks like we have nope, it's not going to be immediate timeout. We're going to be ready to go.
We've only had 1 or 2 of those media timeouts so far this game. Last year I remember a couple more than that. Here is this offense in the pistol. Robbie Taylor, the man in the backfield. Spencer Wright, 3 or 4 yards behind. Hands it off to Taylor. Taylor barrels up the front of the line, and off his center goes for 4 or 5 yards. Near midfield, they'll mark him down at the 46-yard line, 2nd and 6.
Again, like we're talking about at halftime, anytime you're getting 4, 5, 6 yards on first down, it just opens up your playbook completely. And just it's hard for the defense to know what's coming. Instead of a 2nd long, it's a 2nd short where it could be a run or pass.
Heavy set formation, still 2 wide receivers set, more than usual. Handoff left side, and Robbie Taylor's tripped up after he gets 2 or 3 yards. We'll set up 3rd and short at the 49-yard line. We'll see 3rd and 3.
Yeah, instead of 2 wings, basically we're spreading 2 guys out, and with only 1 wing going in motion most of the time instead of 2 wings. with either guy possibly going in motion. It's like trips left coming out of the huddle here. I could see a potential Stoudemire pass up top, one-on-one coverage, or third and short could be a run.
Now we've seen a slant here from Stoudemire at the top of the screen. They try to get him with a hard count. They don't. Trips formation at the near side. One wide receiver to the far side. Running back is Robbie Taylor, and the pistol formation's right. Looking to pass to the near side. Gets it to Connor Hull. Connor Hull with blocking. He goes through, lasers through the 4 or 5 guys there, and gets the first down gain of 6 or 7. And there we go on the other side of the field. The Stars moving from right to left at the 41-yard line now. And the Stars, they're wearing their white jerseys for the second consecutive year. And every time the Stars have won the state championship, they've been wearing those white jerseys. They wore blue that one year when they lost to Jimtown. So white, definitely the color the Stars would rather wear on the field. And they asked all their fans to wear blue because blue is the color of the state champions. Looking to throw. Spencer
Deep.
Wright throws this one deep and just overthrows his guy. Looks like Connor Hull, and Connor slowed down on his route. He put his hand up, showing that he was open, and then he kind of just trotted the next couple steps. If he kept his full speed, then that would have been a touchdown.
It's pretty good man-to-man coverage all across the board. Connor, who usually can outrun someone in a route like that, Eastbrook was able to stay with him shoulder to shoulder and was able to make Spencer overthrow it, bringing up 2nd and 10.
In on coverage was Isaiah Dalton, guy who had the tip for the he didn't get the interception, but he tipped it earlier. Here's the rush up the middle on the near side hash mark for 2 or 3 yards by Robbie Taylor. Make that Brett Wethington.
Okay, last time in a third down situation like this in the trips, basically the Stars did a check with me kind of thing. They looked over at Comer to decide how they were defending it, and then they decided just go with a wide receiver bubble pass. So it'll be interesting to see if they go trips again this time.
2.5 minutes left in the third quarter. Here's 3rd and 8 for the Stars. They're on the 39-yard line of Eastbrook, trying to keep this drive from stalling, but we'll likely see them go for it even if they don't make this. Here's the handoff up the middle, and it's stuffed. He gets a gain of 1 or 2, and we'll see 4th down and about 5.
I'd say from this spot on the field, they're probably going for, like you said, 3rd and long. You can run it once because you know you got 2 downs instead of just 1 down. No punting in this situation.
4th and 5 on the 36-yard line. Under 2 minutes now, 1 minute and 51.
Probably going to be a Spencer Wright decision of some kind, or get it to Connor Hull in this situation.
Connor's lined up at the bottom on the near side.
Slot.
In the slot. Stoudemire also at the far end, and you see a pass. Throws this one plenty of time. Guy open is Stoudemire, and he caught this one. Holy cow. He gets this one down to the 2-yard line, and the man in coverage just throws his hands up before the ball got there, trying to deflect it. Didn't even try to keep it out of the hands of Stoudemire, who makes yet another great catch as he had his amazing one last week. And this time, holy cow, he keeps his feet in bounds, both of them tipping in. And
yeah, in high school and college, you only need one. But, boy, just to give you a good visual there, like you said, the Eastbrook player just – it would have been the old-fashioned face guarding call because he just put both hands up with his back to the ball.
Here on the near side now, it'll be a handoff pass, and a flag will be called. Pass was dropped anyway, incomplete. They will call a false start, and the Stars will go from 1st and 2 to 1st and 7. There, Wethington was the man in the backfield with the fake up the middle, and they tossed it to the near side to Garrity. Garrity drops the ball.
On that previous play, it's just basically a go route on the sideline, and Spencer put it in the exact spot he needed to keep it away from the defense, but yet kept it inbounds enough for Cortez to do some good toe tapping and keep it in to the 7-yard line they're calling it.
And now the clock rolls, minute 2.
The penalty brought him back to the 7.
1st and goal. Man in motion. It'll be a handoff to Wethington. Wethington slicing his way up the middle. Lasers through for 2 yards. 2, maybe 3 with some Le'Veon Bell-like dancing at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, at this point when you're got a 34-0 lead, what might be going in the offensive coordinator's mind is I'd like to get a couple more guys some touchdowns in a state finals game. It'd be interesting if they'd switch Taylor for Wethington here.
Wethington deserves one. He's had the last couple of carries here. Robbie Taylor will be the man in the backfield who already has a touchdown of his own. I believe two of them.
2 of them, yep.
Handoff goes to Taylor, and Taylor is stopped on the pile. There's 6 or 7 guys rounded up on the pile. Taylor doesn't get any gain on the play, maybe one.
Injury timeout, I think.
And probably the guy that was at the bottom of that pile. He's slamming his feet on the turf. Hopefully he is okay, but the training staff will come out.
Appears to be an upper body situation, maybe a shoulder. Like I said, because of the uniforms, it's hard to see who it is, and the TV hasn't given us an idea of what number it is yet either.
Now, the good news is he is slamming his legs on the turf, which means it's not a knee injury.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you got to take the good with the bad, but he is injured, at least not one of those ACL tears that everyone fears on this turf field.
Yeah, and bringing up 3rd and 5 here, the Panthers have done a good job of stuffing the run the last 2 plays, one by Wellington, one by Taylor. 3rd and 5. Coach Comer calling the plays and Pele making the final decisions. Lots of options here, whether you want to roll Spencer out, whether you want to hit someone like Connor Hull or Luke Marsh on the motion up pitch, or go ahead and make a regular pass.
Walking off on his own is number 84, Alexander Baker now. It appears to be some ailment with the right side of his body, maybe a right shoulder injury, the way he's holding his arm.
Walking off on his own power, though, but maybe even a wrist the way he's holding it.
He got up on his own power as well. And
so
here's
got all kinds of options here for Comer. But you figure somehow it's going to be Spencer Wright involved or Hull. Once in a while they sneak in a Luke Marsh motion up. Everybody starts focusing so much on Connor Hull, it might give a chance to give a pitch to Luke Marsh. I know he had a good touchdown in the corner of the end zone towards the end of the regular season as well. And it's into the quarter also.
And you know that injury, unfortunately for Eastbrook, it does give Western Boone a chance to come over some more options. We saw Robbie Taylor in the backfield. That was almost probably because Brett Wellington had gotten a few carries already and was kind of getting tired, I'm sure. This break maybe gives Wellington a chance to tote the rock here after Taylor was unsuccessful with his last rush. Maybe Wellington can get a much-earned touchdown rush here after he's taken the back seat on offense the last few weeks. And the senior, Brett Wellington. Well, let's stay here and look at some stats, Coach.
Yeah, the Stars have definitely spread the ball around. First of all, you got Spencer Wright throwing the ball with 17 attempts, which in a high school game, 2A high school game, is quite a few attempts. He's 13 of 17. And then the rushing attempts have been spread around quite a bit, with Wellington getting 14 attempts for 77 yards with a long of 17, followed by Robbie Taylor with 12 attempts for 38 yards with an average of 3.2. Spencer Wright is chosen to keep it 8 times for 56 yards. And then Connor Hull has the 2 carries for 13, and Casey Barrett has the 1 carry for 6 yards. So, the Stars have given the ball to 5 different running backs, including an 8, a 12, and a 14 attempt, and they've thrown the ball 17 times, which is what's making them so hard to defend right now.
Yeah, and it's the catch from the 34-yard catch from Cortez Stoudemire. That was very impressive, the way he was able to go up over the defender, get both of his feet tapped inbounds down to the 2-yard line. Unfortunately, the false start negated 5 of those yards, but it was such an impressive catch there. And what I thought, looked up here like he didn't get his feet in bounds, watched the replay, and sure enough, Stoudemire does it again with that impressive catch after having the really nice catch last week against Triton Central.
That's something you see from, higher level college and NFL guys who are a little more experienced and have, the practice and the awareness to do that. High school guys typically have the awareness and the understanding, but they just don't get the situation that much. But again, that goes back to your practices. Eastbrook stats real quick. They've got 4 pass attempts. They're 1 for 4 for 13 yards. Dylan Bragg is, and they've spread the ball around also. With Dalton 7 attempts, Bragg and Stevenson have 9 attempts apiece. And Binkert has 6 attempts. They have a total of 33 carries, but only for 60 yards.
And that's right, 1.8 yards per carry. That is not something that this Eastbrook team has been accustomed to. Here's back to the field where Robbie Taylor's a man in the backfield, hand in the dirt, heavy set formation. Spencer Wright under center, 2 wide receiver set. Man in motion, handoff right side. Robbie Taylor, he pushes forward. He crosses the plane. Robbie Taylor with his 3rd rushing touchdown of the game, 6 in 2 weeks. And Robbie Taylor crosses the plane and scores again. Western Boone now up 40-0 in the state championship game, what's supposed to be their hardest game of the year. And they're up again after the 6th score of the game. Here's the kick from Jake Taylor after his first one went off the back of his lineman. See what he does here. Marsh with the snap. Luke Marsh, that is. Kick is up. It is through, and it is good. 41-0, and what better number should the score be than 41? Number 41, Robbie Taylor, with 3 of those touchdowns, and he has been an absolute beast as the running back here for the Stars. And that's going to be interesting to watch next year. This kid's a junior. He's going to be playing again next year as the feature back once again. Next year, Robbie Taylor.
Yeah, you don't want to start talking about next year too much, but it is easy to think about. And my concern will be, I think you're losing almost every lineman from this group. I believe. I think they're all seniors, aren't they?
Except for Kopic, we'll have one. The guard Kopic.
Yep, and that'll be the key to that. But that's what the summertime's for, to develop players, the weight room, and but at least you know that you do have a running back there who's coming back that has not just a pretty good year, but has had a great year.
Yeah, and Robbie Taylor, look at the numbers from him this year. Rushing, he's got over 200 yards rushing after 43 yards today, and the big number is 20 rushing touchdowns, 6 in the last 2 games. And here he still has another quarter to make up for that. 11:56 is up on the clock after it only took 1 play after that quarter break. And now here we are, the Stars back to kick. Senior Hayden Woodruff, after giving up his duties to Elliott Young the last few weeks, he's the kicker right now. And the ball on the 40-yard line, near side hash mark, back to receive is Binkert and Dalton. This one goes up to Dalton. Watch him go up the middle as he usually does. Recovers at the 10. Now at the 20-yard line, that is Binkert with the ball. He goes out to the far side. He's got room now at the 30. He's got a couple guys to beat. Breaking away speed at the 50. Now the 45. Brought out of bounds just barely by the kicker, Hayden Woodruff. And Woodruff is slow to get up after sacrificing his body for the tackle, pushing out of bounds near the 43-yard line. And a huge momentum play for Eastbrook, who's looking to just put points up on the board at this point.
And he's holding his left leg area over on the Eastbrook sideline. Probably going to be an injury timeout.
The trainer, Courtney Crabtree for the Stars, out tending to him, and she's been such a big part of this program the last 2 years since coming in the summer of 2018.
And Dr. Kraft and Coach Peller are coming across the field to check him out. Dr. Kraft I was joking around with on the field. He's part of the Witham training staff that is now has an affiliation with Western Boone, and he was with us in '98 as a team doctor, and then left, comes back, and he's been part of the group now for 2 years, so I told him he must be the good luck charm.
Yeah, they're tending to a leg injury for him. So we'll move on and just take a look at this building that we're in, this Lucas Oil Stadium. It was built after the RCA Dome was demolished. So 2008 was when Lucas Oil Stadium was built, and what a building it is. The RCA Dome was up from 1984 to 2007. Also went by the name of the Hoosier Dome, and actually some of the seats from that Hoosier Dome is in the convention center next door. Lucas Oil Stadium, it can seat around 70,000 people. Now, that's not the number that you would look at if you were looking for the conventional one, but this has a potential of over 70,000 people. And the Stars and the Eastbrooks fans, they're only taking up a few sections on the bottom section. So just looking around all these empty seats, it's pretty astonishing. As much as you said, almost 3,000 people just pre-ordered tickets for the Stars, around 2,000 for Eastbrook, and that doesn't even have enough to fill up a couple sections.
Yeah, and last year, Western Boone definitely had almost every section on the sidelines, on their sidelines full, including the second level. This year, I would say it's a little less than that, but still a pretty impressive crowd for a school of like 512 or something like that. For those that from each school that aren't aware, Eastbrook is from Grant County. If you're familiar with Taylor University, basically Upland is a small city just east of Marion, and Upland has Eastbrook High School and Taylor University both. If you've ever been in that area, you've got to know what Ivanhoe's is. I would call it ice cream paradise on steroids. It's 100 and some flavors of ice cream. I'm from that area originally, up in that direction, and almost every time you went out somewhere on a weekend, you always had to stop at Ivanhoe's. And for the Eastbrook people, Western Boone is, just as it said, is on the western part of Boone County. Part of Zionsville, Lebanon, and Western Boone are the 3 schools, and it's located on Highway 32, just west of Lebanon and between Lebanon and Crawfordsville.
Hayden Woodruff being helped off. He's around the 40-yard line on the near side, and Brian Sheets, one of the guys helping take him off the field as he is struggling with that lower leg injury in the knee area. This Lucas Oil Stadium has 7 locker rooms, 2 of which are being occupied by these 2 teams, and we'll see a couple others filled up by the teams playing right after us. 14 escalators, 11 passenger elevators, and pretty big number, over 160 concession stands. About half of those are permanent. The other half are trucks and different stands that can come in portable. There's 8 field suites, and looking over to our right, Coach, those 8 field suites out on the field, they're only 10 feet away from the end zone. That's the closest of any set of suites in the NFL here at Lucas Oil Stadium. Pretty unique there.
It's nice to make you feel like you're part of the game, but it's almost too close and too low. You can't see the field angle very well.
Eastbrook with the ball now, quarterback keeper option play. He will decide to take it himself and gets back to the original line of scrimmage, loses about a yard after he gets walloped by 3 or 4 guys. Dylan Bragg not able to make much there, and maybe would have been a better idea to pitch it out to Binkert on the option.
Defense did a good job of just stringing it out, and he really didn't have anywhere to turn it up and end up with about a 1-yard loss. Good pursuit sideways by the Stars.
1 running back in the backfield. It'll be a toss reverse to the near side, now the far side. He's got blocking in front. Eastbrook, they might go all the way. Spencer Wright not able to bring him down. A trip up last second, brought down at the 1, maybe 2-yard line. And Josh Benson making the final stop, the diving thrust into the ankles of number 21, Binkert of Eastbrook, and some trickery there off of the reverse. Looked to be a sack. Instead, he pitches it out, and very successful. Eastbrook now near the goal line. Heavy set formation. Stevenson with the handoff up the middle. He's in. Eastbrook scores. Take the 0 off the board. 41-6 is the score, and Eastbrook from Grant County is not going to go home with a 0.
Well, that, like I said, the play that set that up was interesting. That it looked like the quarterback was about to be sacked, broke through the line of scrimmage, and as he's going down, he was able to pitch the ball to the reverse man. Very, very good timing considering the ball was the play was busted up a little bit by Stars lineman.
And here's the PAT almost blocked. This one is through. Really high kick there, as that one would have been well in from maybe 30, 40, 50 yards even. That was a really nice PAT kick, about as high as most NFL PAT kicks are.
Like you said in the first half, I was watching the guy as well down there. It looked like he has decent range out to about 40 yards, which is not something you see too much at high school, especially at this level.
Yeah, and who better to run for that touchdown for Eastbrook with the game so out of hand than Wyatt Stevenson, number 9, the senior. He's carried the team this year to the tune of 268 rushes for 1,200 yards, almost 1,300. He's actually passed that mark now, over 1,300 yards, around 5 yards a carry, and 22, now 23 touchdowns on the year, and the big number there. He's rushed for 92 yards a game, and he has been the workhorse for this run-heavy offense of Eastbrook. And there he gets the touchdown. 41-7 is your score with 10:55 left in this fourth quarter, and we've seen 2 scores almost within the first minute of the fourth quarter.
I think even though it's a 41-6 game, you still obviously got to think about an onside kick here. Just if you're Eastbrook, you're not at the point where you're ready to give up by no means, so could have some kind of onside kick. And right now the middle of the field is open the most. The Stars are in a 4-3 setup instead of a 5-man front. So you could kick it right to the Colts helmet in the middle if you wanted to.
Lucas Schultz, the kicker. This one, he will kick it out to around the 25-yard line, picked up by the Stars now at the 30, 35 to the 37-yard line. Casey Baird, the return man, the up man who got that one and brought it down. And the Stars will start this one off near the 36-yard line. We'll likely see a heavy dosage of Robbie Taylor and Brett Wethington.
Yeah, and that the Panthers have chosen the 2 times they've kicked off to squib kick it, basically trying to keep it away from Connor Hull and Cortez Stoudemire and the 2 deep men. But it's also given the Stars in this case a starting position of 38-yard line.
Anyone watching those Thursday night games of last week, they probably had hope that maybe an onside kick could have been successful. We'll get to that here in a minute. Right after this play, in the heavy set formation with Wethington in the backfield, handoff left side Wethington. Wethington powers forward. All his work gets him 2 yards to the 41-yard line, 2nd and 8. And that Atlanta Falcons versus the New Orleans Saints game that last Thursday night, Thanksgiving special, where the Saints were up big, and they had this big lead, and everyone thought, okay, the game's over. And the Falcons, they went out and kicked an onside kick just because they had to, and they made it somehow. There's only been 2 onside kicks recovered so far this year, and they made that one. However, the guy was offsides, and they had to call it back. Okay, so they do it again, and sure enough, they make it again. All right, so there's 2 straight onside kicks that they made. They go and score the touchdown here after this play as a handoff. Quarterback keeper option play. He's going to take it himself, gets upfield and out of bounds, and will go down as a sack, a loss of 2 yards. Spencer Wright goes out of bounds. And then so after the Falcons, they go and they score their 6 points. And then they go for another onside kick, of course. They're down now by 8, so they need 2. So onside kick, okay, probably not. They get it again. 3rd straight onside kick recovered from the Falcons. And what was really impressive there and just had everyone's mind blown Thursday night. So maybe Eastbrook could have tried some of that there, but instead they squib kick it. Now the Stars have the ball 3rd and 9 from the 40-yard line. Man in motion, looking to pass to Spencer Wright. Throws this one deep downfield. He's got a guy open. Stoudemire with the catch. Rolls down to the 20, 18, 17-yard line. And Stoudemire with another big catch. The wide receiver leading in receptions and yards so far today for the Stars. And Spencer Wright shows off his big arm with pressure in his face and gets this one over the top of the cornerback. And here, like a lot of Stoudemire's catches, he has to stretch out a little bit more, and he's not able to get the run after catch. And you can see him joking with his teammates. He fell down once again after the catch, but a big play of 43 yards. And now from the 17-yard line of Eastbrook, Brett Wethington running back in the backfield. And I'm rooting for Wethington to get the handoff here as he deserves some more of that. Yep. And looked like a busted play. Spencer Wright sacked as looks like he might have been trying to go for the toss out to Luke Marsh, who had open field, and instead he has to keep it himself and brought down for a loss of 1, 18-yard line, 2nd and 11.
I couldn't tell if it was a planned or not, but Max Johnson shifted to the other side to make the formation strong. And I don't know if that was something they were doing to try to trick the defense and do it at the last minute, or if he was lined up the wrong way. And then when he moved, it's almost like it confused Spencer as to which way he was supposed to turn, but it was definitely a deal where Spencer went the wrong direction and just had to make something out of it for a loss of a yard.
Here's next play. Wethington off his left tackle between the left guard, gets a gain of 2, now 3rd and 9. And now you mentioned how he lined up on the wrong side, Coach. You know how motion offense started, right, was Coach Bill Walsh. He was an offensive coordinator with the Bengals, and his tight end, his name was Bob Trumpy. He lined up on the wrong side of the formation. He realized, oh, wait a second, I need to get to the other side. So right before they snapped it, runs to the other side, gets in formation, incomplete pass, okay? And then watching film that night, Coach Bill Walsh, known as one of the best coaches in NFL history, realizes, hey, we could use this to our advantage. And sure enough, here we are where the Stars and Eastbrook use so much option and motion almost every play of their offense. Here's heavy set formation. Wethington in the backfield gets a handoff. He's got a little bit of room, cuts it back in field, and pushes forward for a gain of 8 yards, 4th and 2 from the 9-yard line. They need to get to the 7.
Yep. And like I said, the main concept of motion nowadays, especially at the NFL level, is it gives you a chance to see if a team's in man or zone. If you motion and they don't go with you, you know their zone. And Stars are going to try a field goal from about 26 yards, it looks like.
Jake Taylor, the field goal kicker. Of course, the Stars had 2 field goals last year with Elliott Young. Here's the long snapper. Marsh gets it down. Kick is up. Kick goes through, and it is good. 3 more points up to the name of Jake Taylor. And now the score 44-7. After that, the 3rd field goal in 2 years, and all of them have come in this final game of the season.
Well executed. Yeah, exactly. Well executed. Good snap, good hold, good kick. Wasn't sure. Sometimes his extra points don't have a lot of velocity on them, but that one was pretty confident. Yeah. I think maybe his extra points are just, I'll just kick it as much as I need to. I don't have to bomb one here on an extra point.
Yeah, that's the difference between Eastbrook's kicker, who he kicked that one about as much leg as he can get into it. It was a super high kick for their PAT. and Jake Taylor usually has his lower to the line and kind of makes people hold their breath a bit when one's needed. Of course, the Stars had a different PAT kicker to start the year, and he missed those 2 PATs in the second game of the year, and they ended up losing by 1, so they switched to Taylor, and he's run away with the job ever since, and he's going to be a good kicker here in the next following years. He's only a freshman, is Jake Taylor.
Yep. Like I said, I don't know if he's a former soccer player that's been converted or if he was a football player in junior high. I'm not sure, but he definitely has done a solid job. I want to say he's in the 67 for 73 range for his extra points.
Closer down to, depending on how many points we have. He coming into the game, he had 51 PATs. He was 51 for 55, 90%, very high echelon. And the record was set last year, most PATs in a season, by Elliott Young with 57. He's really close to that number here after all these touchdowns. And it's interesting. So the record is 57. Jake Taylor came in with 51. I was looking through that the other day and I realized, if the Stars score 6 touchdowns and he makes every PAT, he'll tie it. And here they've scored 6 touchdowns and he missed 1, so he's 1 behind the record. And 44-7 is your score. 7:36 left in the fourth.
When you have state championship years, it's funny how the records seem to fall for a couple of reasons. One, you've got a great squad, but 2, you also have 3, 4, 5 extra games. If you get beat in the first round of the sectional, you're only playing 10, 11 games or so. But when you make a run deep like this, you get 15 games of stats you get to work with. But it also boils down to the fact that you got a good team.
And the Indiana members credit Union play of the game was that catch down by Quartet Stoudemire at the far side, at the near side, right tiptoe at the 2 or 3 yard line that was, and goes out of bounds over the defender who really was playing like a 7th grader, just throwing his hands up, wasn't looking at the ball or anything, wasn't trying to contest anything, he was just throwing his hands up, and it didn't work there. Here's the squib kick, bounces around 15, 16, now 10-yard line, finally picked up, bobbled, and now Dalton will go to work here. He's got open field again now at the 25-yard line, finally brought down 26, 27, 28-yard line. There goes Dalton.
You could definitely see where if the Stars let these Eastbrook running backs get into the open field that they are difficult and to bring down and show some good moves. You had the same situation on the reverse that got it down to the 2-yard line for Eastbrook, and there's an example where in some open space he looked really good there and got it back to the 30-yard line after having it at the 8.
And here's the handoff to the left side, swallowed up behind the line of scrimmage. They'll give him 2 yards there. 2nd and 8 from the 32-yard line now.
Hadn't really seen that. That was a quick trap right up the middle for a gain of 3.
That's something that's been a staple of this offense. We haven't seen a whole lot more because Eastbrook's trying to trick up the defense of the Stars a little bit more. Here's another handoff, fullback Stevenson up the middle, gets 2 or 3 more yards. Maybe this is something Eastbrook should have tried to do a lot more as they're getting some more yards before contact. 3rd and 4.
Yeah, we just hit under the 7-minute mark in the fourth quarter with it 44-7.
Bragg gets the play in the no huddle still. Handoff to the far side now and brought down. He won't get it. He'll get 2 yards, needed 4. 4th and 2. Here we go, Eastbrook.
Another little counter action out of that, and they're bringing on the punt team, it looks like, 4th and 2.
4th and 2. They're at the 38, 37-yard line, so not a whole lot of options here. Maybe watch for a fake punt. They have 3 guys lined up right behind the center, so we'll see what happens. Here's the kick. The punt is up and almost blocked again. This time it'll drop down around the 40-yard line. Everyone's yelling, don't touch it. Did he touch it? No, he didn't. Connor Hull with good awareness jumps over the ball. And now the 33, 32-yard line of Western Boone's where this one's going to be spotted. 6 minutes exactly left. 44-7 the score. Let's see what Western Boone's offense can do here.
I have a feeling they'll probably start with the main offense for this series, and either maybe in the middle of this series have the second team come in so that the crowd that made it down here from Thorntown area, from Western Boone County, can give the starting 5 a little ovation as they come off.
Look at that. The Stars with 460 total yards, 74 total yards for Eastbrook. Here's Western Boone, the heavy set formation. Man in motion is the wing. Handoff to the right side is Weathington. Weathington almost breaks into the open field. He'll get a gain of 5. and will now move to second down and medium. And Wellington, his MO so far this game, he's gotten in and he's lasered around a few people. He's shimmied his way for an extra couple yards. When Taylor comes in, he just plows his way forward for a couple extra yards. Still works the same, and now we have 2nd and 5.
Yeah, Brett's average is only like 5.3, but there's never been 1 or 2s, but there's also haven't been very many 12s. It's just been a steady 5-6 yards every time he touches the ball.
As long as that 17 yards gain in the first quarter. Wellington, hand in the dirt, man in motion is Marsh. Handoff left side, running forward in the open field, and he's tripped up. Brett Wellington not able to turn on the Jets quite fast enough. Still a nice gain to the 48-yard line. Now on the other side of the field, Eastbrook moving left to right with 5 minutes and 13 seconds left. The clock is chewing, and the Stars going to try to take down as much time as possible here in this drive.
I'm not sure if it's his hamstring or if it's just some other kind of thing, but he seemed to have tweaked something in his lower body, and they're bringing him out. And I have a feeling he's probably done on the offensive end.
Brett Wellington, that is.
Yeah, Brett Wellington. That put him over 100 yards at 19 carries for 110 yards, and he might be done on offense.
Here's the handoff to the right side now. Robbie Taylor. Robbie moving forward, pushed for a gain of 5 or 6. Make that 7 yards. Here comes 2nd and 3 at the 40-yard line of Eastbrook.
Got to give credit to the O-line again. The Stars are now on a 46 attempts, 233 yards on the ground. And that starts up front with the Hogs, and Coach Gadberry has been the offensive line coach for several years. And Coach Gadberry also was part of that team with Colin Bruins in the 98. Gadberry was a good lineman for that group as well.
Travis Bruins, that is.
Travis, yes.
Here's the handoff to the right side, Taylor. Taylor with a little bit of daylight. He's wrestled down to the ground after a nice gain. Sets up first down at the 29.5-yard line of Eastbrook.
Just the offensive line is just moving the line of scrimmage every snap of the ball. Instead of maintaining their line of scrimmage, you're seeing people backed up 3-4 yards downfield. Clock is ticking under the 4-minute mark now.
3:45 that is. 1st and 10 at the 29-yard line. 44-7 is the score. The Stars in their heavy set formation. One receiver sets Garrity at the bottom of the screen. Man in motion's Marsh. Handoff left side. Robbie Taylor powers forward, and the pile pushes him for 4 yards. 2nd and 6 upcoming at the 25-yard line. You know what I like to see is that NFL 100 symbol on the 25-yard line of each end. Looking at the field here, of course, the Colts have a game tomorrow. So the lines, the hash marks had to be widened for the Stars. So you see the brighter white tape on the hash marks on the farther side. And you can still see faded is the hash marks on the inside of the field. The Colts playing the Titans tomorrow in this building. Robbie Taylor, the running back with his hand in the dirt. Handoff right side. Taylor scampers forward, brought down. He gets enough for the first down into the red zone now at the 18.5-yard line.
Just another pretty simple dive off tackle, right side. They've been running left side the last 2 or 3 times, and that was just a dive to the right off the right tackle.
Here downtown, 2 big events that Lucas Oil Stadium has hosted. Super Bowl 46, the Giants versus Patriots, that second matchup in the Final Four in 2010-2015. Here's the next play. Heavy set formation. Garrity split out wide in the open field. Handoff left side, bounces off a defender and dives forwards. Robbie Taylor, first down gain of 3 yards, 2nd and 7. Lucas Oil Stadium will host the College Football Playoff National Championship in 2022. Big, exciting game there coming up in the city of Indianapolis, as well as the NCAA Men's Basketball Final Four in 2021 and 2026. And yearly, Lucas Oil Stadium hosts the Big Ten Football Championship coming up here soon. Circle City Classic, Monster Energy Supercross, the Monster Jam, NFL Combine, and, of course, concerts numerously throughout the year. Lucas Oil Stadium, a big event venue here in downtown Indianapolis. Robbie Taylor, the running back in the backfield, gets a handoff off the right guard, right tackle, and dives forward with the pile. He gets down inside the 10-yard line. Minute and 35 left in the game. The Stars trying to chew up the rest of this one. Now we'll see 3rd and 2.
Piggyback on what you were saying about just Indianapolis in general, it's one of the few cold weather cities that get all these events. It's because They're known to just do a great job of hosting events, but also almost the entire downtown hotel, convention, Lucas Oil area is connected with tunnels and walk across to where you don't really have an issue with the weather. And the Stars are going to be in a winning formation. They're just going to down it with a minute to go.
On 3rd and 2, they will take the knee here. Victory formation takes them back to yard. 4th and 3 with 55 seconds left. And now we'll see 4th down. Curious to see what they do here, whether they just take another knee and let the offense of Eastbrook come out or not. Or maybe we'll see another field goal. Weddington comes onto the field, and now as he almost limps onto the field, and he gets a standing ovation from the Western Boone sideline. Almost everyone down in the crowd is standing up, and the Weibo chant coming out from Brad Wallace.
Yeah. You didn't really see it, even though the score was a lot, but you're finally starting to see the coaches hugging and the players hugging, and they weren't going to let themselves.
And they're going to just run the clock out here.
Yeah.
Right, steps back, takes the knee with 11 seconds left, and he could have just walked around for 10 more seconds, but instead he'll let Eastbrook get the chance here, and you know what? The Stars will now be able to welcome that offense that's taken them to the state championship and beyond off to the sideline. Here they come, and here's the noise from the crowd.
Yeah, like I said, a class act by Eastbrook there of, not rushing the play, even though Spencer was standing there for a moment trying to run a few more seconds off the clock.
And now Eastbrook's offense onto the field with 11 seconds left. 44-7 is the score on the 15-yard line of their own. Here's a handoff to the right side as Stevenson turns on the Jets only for 3 yards. And with 5 seconds left, the clock is dropping. The game is over. The confetti flies, and it's the color of red, white, and blue. The Western Boone Stars have done it, back-to-back state champions of the Class 2A IHSAA, and the Stars heading out to midfield to give out high fives to the team they've beat 2 years in a row. And poor Eastbrook 3 times in 4 years, no state championship, and just well coached up until this state championship where it's hard to beat a team like Coach Pelly and the Western Boone Stars. And you said at halftime, really no weaknesses here. And their biggest weakness, everyone knew, was the secondary of Western Boone, and that's not something Eastbrook is built to exploit.
Yeah. And I think it's a deal where our secondary got better and better. And I think that's also one reason why the coaching staff chose to put Spencer Wright in, where last year he never had to play defense, but this year they chose to play him on defense a little bit more. Bowman was an inexperienced guy early in the year, but he got better and better and better as the year went on, ended up with an interception this week and in the state finals game. And that's part of a 15-game schedule, is you just keep getting better, and that secondary of the Stars did get better to where it wasn't really much of a weakness.
Bowman didn't even want to play this year. He had decided he wasn't going to play football, and then after he was convinced by some of the coaches and peers and players, he decided to play, and boy, what a decision that was. He had the 52-yard interception return earlier. He's made plenty of plays, especially those plays you don't necessarily see as the safety, and playing up press coverage a lot, and the plays that he has prevented rather than stopped.
And it's just a solid year for the Stars, 2 consecutive years. I want to give credit again to the offensive line. 53 carries for 258 yards for the Stars, and that's just a dominant performance. But not only do they have 258 yards on the ground, Spencer Wright goes 14 of 18 for 254 yards, and that's what I was saying a couple weeks ago, is that Spencer is capable of throwing for 200 to 300 yards every game, but there was just no reason to. And the more you can be balanced on offense, especially at a 2A level like this, that it just makes you very, very difficult to defend.
Yeah, a very impressive day from all these athletes. This class, the senior class of 2020 that everybody knew had the potential to do it. They had the potential to go all the way. They don't do it once, Coach. They do it twice, back-to-back, 2018-2019 state champions, the 2A Western Boone Stars. And as you mentioned, they are not necessarily moving up to 3A next year, so they could have another chance to go again next year. They're losing a lot of seniors, 18 of them, and these guys that Coach Pelly has grown since they were in elementary school. He's kept an eye on them all 7 years here. He knew he had the core to bring a state championship here, and I'm sure if you went and asked him if he would have thought 7 years ago 2 state champions in 7 years, he would have been baffled.
Yeah, and basically it's all about continuity. Look at Eastbrook. The reason why they've been here 3 of the last 4 years is they've got the continuity with the same coach for 31 years. Your junior high and your youth league is running the same terminology, the same blocking scheme, the same formations, so that by the time they get into their freshman and sophomore year, they're just fine-tuning things. They're not trying to have to teach them new stuff. And the same thing with Coach Pelly here. This is these seniors were probably 5th graders, I think, when he first started. So it's been the same terminology, the same offense. Comer, I think, has expanded things a little bit with the formations he runs. But for the most part, these guys have been doing the same thing for 6-7 years, and they've just gotten better and better. But also need to put a lot of credit to the off-season weight program, and actually the in-season weight program that the Stars have run by Coach Pelly and the PE department, that all these athletes have a weightlifting class every single day. And I read an article with Coach Pelly talking about how our 2A football team just looks and runs a little bit differently, a little more athletic, and that all starts from working in the off-season. And several of those guys are 2 to 3 sport athletes. Many of them are going to be, they might get 2 days off next Monday and Tuesday, but they're going to start right into basketball at some point soon. And they're just athletes. They're not just football players. They're athletes. And other than the linemen, I think they do some track stuff in the spring. But these guys will be in the weight room Monday looking for next year. And if you're a junior and a sophomore, you've definitely got 2 trophies in the trophy case to look at to give you some motivation to get up, which also I want to mention that it's not just the player's dedication. When you're an underclassman, your parents have to be dedicated because your parents are getting you there at the weight room at 6 a.m. in the summertime. And it's just basically a commitment from the entire family and community, a commitment by the administration to put this kind of money into the athletic department to, realize that the weightlifting part of it and the athletic part of it is important for these kids, and to have a full-time weights person in your PE department is huge, and you're seeing the effects of that with 2 state championships in the trophy case.
Looks like Wyatt Stevenson, if I'm getting that right. It's hard to see his number, but won that. Yep, Wyatt Stevenson won the Mental Attitude Award that was won by Peyton Young a year ago, and now they will start with the presentation of the medals for both teams, and we'll start winding down here. Give a thank you to the IHSAA for letting us come up here to Lucas Oil Stadium, namely Heath Shanahan and everything he does for our program. Give a thank you to Matt Foxworthy, our program instructor down there watching in the stands. He wasn't able to be up here today because of limited space, and we just appreciate everything that he has done for us this year and last year and getting this program where it is now. Mr. Smith, thank you for coming up here with me today and helping us out here with WBTV Sports. The Stars' final score, 44-7, and here comes the next game here. After this one will be the 3A, the 4A game, that is. East Noble playing in that one as well, and just transitioning here into the next game, and we will head out here shortly after East Noble and Evansville Memorial will play each other, and after that the pinnacle of the IHSAA football Class 6A, Carmel and Center Grove, will play. So I'm Nathaniel Finch, like I said, alongside Coach Smith, Austin Smothers running production truck. We've got 2 guys on the field. It is Richie Brown and Landon Coons down there running our microphone on the field. Thank you to the Western Boone program, the athletic department, all the support you guys have given us, the Western Boone community, especially for the outpour last week that we got after we were not able to head to Triton Central. We appreciate all of your kind words and everything you have done for Western Boone Radio TV. And that will be at 44-7 is the score. Back-to-back state champions is the 2A class of Western Boone High School. And the stands full of the Western Boone community we'll head out here. Everybody have a great evening, and congratulations to the football team of Western Boone.